thank you. I mean, I've been getting these emails, and I missed last few ones. I did attend the coronavirus one, and that was super fascinating. So thanks a lot for organizing this, connecting all of us, allowing us to network more broadly. Our fourth speaker is Pankaj Purwar. He's the CEO of Farmers Legacy Biotech, based out in British Columbia. And we are going to learn a few things about canola and farming and agriculture and the impact of this on Canadian economy. So I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to let Pankaj take the show. And as Michael pointed out, please put all the questions in the post, and then I'll ask on behalf of you. Thank you so much.
If you could just share your screen, perfect. I think it's just about up.
So
Great.
now
And just
I
go to full screen.
yeah, so are you able to hear me?
We can hear you. And just go to full screen if you could.
Okay. Is better?
Perfect. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So I will start with the challenges. So what we have seen in last 70 years, mostly in Southeast Asia, that 50% of the forest has been lost to palm oil cultivation. And if the things will go on the same way, by 2022, even 98% of the Indonesian forest will be lost. And we have seen that the major impact of this deforestation is on biodiversity. So we have already seen that 30 to 40% of the organtuan population has been destroyed in Malaysia. So this is coming forward because we know about it. But do we think that the entire picture is so small? So no, that's not the case. The picture is a bit bigger. We don't know about that. So the bigger picture is this one. So this is the entire global scenario. So mostly palm oil is grown in basically four regions: Southeast Asia, Africa, South America, and Mesoamerica, which is the lower part of North American continent. So we have seen that not only Southeast Asia has lost a lot of its forest, but South America has lost 32% of its forest as well. Africa is at 7%, and Mesoamerica is 5%. But South America, Mesoamerica, and Africa are the one which will be having a further deforestation if the palm oil plantation grows in a similar way, or if the demand for palm oil will keep on rising at the pace it is rising. So all of this is creating a concern for the global warming standard, which like we have kept at 1.5 degrees centigrade. And we do not think that if this plantation, this deforestation will continue, we will able to beat that target, because the deforestation is creating a lot of carbon footprint for the entire globe. So this is all about the palm oil. Now I will move to the what are the culprits of that. We might say that there is a complex supply chain. We will not able to identify the sustainable sourcing due to its complex nature. Somebody say it might be a local government because it is not putting up proper standards or have proper checks to check the deforestation. Then we might say that there is suppliers who have a global reach, who are supplying the entire palm oil from wherever their origin is to the entire globe. And that is the reason that demand is being rising, and that's why people are deforesting to meet that demand. And then some say it is banks, financial institutions who are putting the money behind it. So is that we have no standard on it? It is not the case. We have RSPO, which is Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil, which is putting the standard. But the thing is, there is those local governments, suppliers, bank, and complex supply chain partners who are part of that RSPO. So whether we are able to stringently follow that standard, that is still a question of concern. And then after all, we might say that these people are more culprit, but the biggest thing is we are all the culprit because we are the consumers of it. Most of the time we do it knowingly, and sometimes we do it unknowingly. So like knowingly, we get into Nestle product or Mondelez product, and we see if palm oil is present in it, and we might choose not to use it if it is from non-sustainable sources. But if we are going to McDonald's or big chain, Even they say that they are from they are following that RSPO standard, but we never know. But still, we keep on consuming it unknowingly that we are consuming palm oil. So these are the basic challenges in the palm oil industry. Next, I will talk about the canola industry. So the canola industry is like 19.3 billion contribution to the Canadian economy, providing 250,000 job to Canadians, with 12.5 billion in wages, and it ranges from the diverse field from agriculture to final end consumer. So it will have a job creation in the entire value chain of the canola. So if we see from last couple of years, considering CPI, that's how like from 2011 to 2020, if I have considered a base year at 2011 and consider a consumer price index to be 100, so by 2020, we have raised 20% of the cost. If we see the price of canola, then it has been decreasing from 2011 onward, where we have seen a steep decline in prices in 2015, and that has been continued till now. So if I will put in a volume perspective, so our production has risen to 223% from 22 to 2011 with a price increase of only 50%, whereas production has risen from 39% in 2011 to 2018, but the price has only increased to 1%. So that means if we are able to increase our production further, like currently it is 9.6 billion tons, if we need to increase by 25%, which is the target for 2025 for the Canola Growers Association, then it is imperative that we will even see the decline in prices. And the most affected group is farmers, because they cannot do innovation, so they need to harvest canola anyways, because it is important for the health of the soil. So now the third bigger challenges with the products which we use, whether it is our laundry, whether it is hand dishwash, whether it is our body lotion, whether the cream we use, that usually have the sources from the non-renewable sources, like the petroleum industry, the surfactant being used in them, and company are moving from non-sustainable to sustainable sourcing. And these all come from the palm oil and all those stuffs, and canola cannot be used in that. So all the ingredients come in from the palm oil or the coconut oil. So those are the bigger challenges, that if we don't have more palm oil, then the sustainable, these brands cannot move into sustainable sourcing uh, or the renewable sources. So here's what my company come in. We are Farmers Legacy Biotech. My name is Pankaj Purwar. So I did my engineering from India and did job for 7 years in multinationals like Marico and Unilever. So I worked as a process scientist and the product scientist for those 7 years. Then I did MBA from University of Victoria, and then I started pursuing my own company, which is Farmers Legacy Biotech. So we are what we are working on. So we are working on making canola similar to coconut oil. So why not palm oil? So basically, coconut oil is better for health, and it can be used. It can replace 80% of the current palm oil uses. That's why we want to make it to a coconut oil. And the other reason being the cost. So the cost, if we see, it is always greater than 100,000, like $1,000 per ton, and it's rising. And the demand will be increased um, because of the various uses the coconut oil has, and its supply is limited. So there is always a demand for it. If we see our consumption of North American, so we can see that the coconut oil will make around 11% of the total canola. So that is the current market which we are targeting in next years. And the palm oil continue about 37%, 38%. So that's what is our prospective market for next 20 years. So this is what the market opportunity is in front of us. Um, so far we are a team of 4 people. Arohi is a plant breeder, PhD in plant breeding, and she's the CTO of our company and works on the breeding part or the technical part. The next is Sam Mercer, who is our business consultant. He's president for Vancouver Life Sciences, and then comes Taran Singhal, who is MBA from University of California and works uh, as a now he has have both CFO and CMO position, helping me with marketing and financial work, and then myself. So now we are moving from coconut to canola. So how that will become possible? So basically they are into a very different fatty acid profile. So where is canola oil, which is very high in monosaturated, medium in polysaturated fat, and very low in saturated fat. And then there is coconut oil at the bottom, which is 91% saturated and a very low amount of polys and mono part on it. So how are we going to achieve it? So that's what our patent technology looks like. In step one, we will convert all the polyunsaturated fatty acid to the monounsaturated fatty acid. So almost 19% of them will be converted in step one. And step two involves making those monounsaturated fatty acid to saturated fatty acid. So that is our two-step process, which we're gonna achieve our technical results. So this is our like the entire value chain of canola looks like. So we have breeders who will make seed for the farmers. Then Brett Young is the marketer who will provide that seed to the farmers. That farmers will harvest them, and then Canola Growers Association that will move that seed from farmers to processors, and then from processors there are different traders who will move it to the end users. So when this is the entire business case, so we say that there are um, different companies working on it. There is no a single company who work on the entire value chain. So basically, that's where like Farmers Legacy Biotech come into picture. We are working on not only the product innovation but a market innovation. So what we do is we innovate the entire industry, and then we have the partners and the users model, where we will pay royalty to our partners, and then we will charge commission from our users. That's where we will make money, and then we will be playing the entire value chain. So now what our plan is? So our plan is to uh, so initially we target once like all the prototype is done at university, and next 3 years, like when so currently development work will happen in next 3 years. After that, this is our plan that first we will target Prince George and places in the Ontario region, and then our second target is Alberta, because if we able to target those 4 regions, our 10% is target will be met. So why we are targeting the initial of Prince George or the Ontario regions? Because there the difference between field is a bit higher. So we need to understand exactly that there is a pollen migration happening in canola. So we want to understand that how much distance will be required. So that's why we think that these are the places with the field distance bit higher. So those are the ideal cases for getting all the initial prototyping done. So there is a strict regulation for CFIA, which has an integrated protocol, but still like we want to see in for a couple of months, so that we don't deteriorate the existing canola, which is very important for the entire Canada, and most of it is being imported to different countries. So that's why we have bit of a conscious approach to this. This is how the oil production we will move in different years. So by year 2024, that's what our target will be. So this will like happen. There is the mismatch in years, like 2021 is 2025. So it's 2025 to 2030. That's when the different oil productions will happen in those regions. Those are our key partners. Like we need some funding, so we will have even the different departments so who will give us initial fund, agriculture support, providing us a jump plasm where we can create a seed what we require. Then there will be breeders, farmers and processors. So we are already in talk with them. So mostly currently most of them has told us that they will provide us the letter of intent, but as we go forward we will take them support letter and all the resources which is available with them. So this is how we will move along. So like 2020, so we had 5 provisional patent, we have received germplasm, and we have achieved university partnership. So the next couple of years we will keep on extending the provisional patent, and as the data arrive we will keep on filing those patents. Then basically 2025 is when we will start selling seeds. So this is our entire plan. So this is how our cash flow looks like. So in 2020, like we have already spent it like $200,000, mostly in form of labors and doing all those work done so far, creating business cases, and then filing patents and all those stuff. This is how the entire value chain looks like. So we are not only generating value for a single value chain like farming or elevation, crushing, refining. So our project will impact all the value chain, starting from farming and to the livestock or port activities. Like all the entire value chain will be benefited out of our project. So what is our ask? Our ask is for $100,000 for 10% of the company. So we had valued our company as $1 million due to our partnerships and patent and the resources which we have at the moment. So this is all for me. So is there any questions? Now I will answer those.
Thank you so much, Pankaj. Appreciate you sharing your information and your technology with us. So we have our first question from Michael, and Michael wants to know how scalable is this technology and has it been tested beyond bench to scale?
So basically, this has been done during 90s, 80s, but after that, all the work was stopped. So we have the proof that it was grown in the part of Canada and the US. So we have already asked for CFIA to share the field trials or field results of that point in time when they have filed for the licensing. So only thing was the oleic acid content at that point was a bit higher. So that's why now a lot of technological innovation has happened. So that's why we feel that now we can achieve what was not achievable at that point in time.
Thank you. And so scalable, I think that's probably the answer that was it okay, Michael, for you to find out the information is scalable? Good, thank you.
Yep.
So the next question is, so how did you derive the valuation of $1 million for your company? That is the next question from Craig.
Yeah, so like $200,000 is the which we can see like all the efforts which has been put so far. So basically, if you see our cash flow, so once we start making money, we will be making in millions. So because we have the hockey stick curve, so the potential is extremely high. So that is the reason why we value it so far. If we do the cash flow analysis, it will come to a higher. So we have put the 50% of that. We have not taken the entire 100% because we have bit cautious approach that at least we will not able to achieve 50%, like 10% in our what we have. But if we able to achieve 50%, even our valuation is at 1 billion right now.
And following on that about the valuation, Michael wants to know, obviously there's a competition out there with every field. So how does the competition look like in your area, especially when people are now using engineered microorganisms to achieve that saturation to, unsaturated to saturated fatty acid cycle?
So basically, I do not know whether that has been tested on human consumption. Mostly that will be used for the biodiesel. So this is mostly for the human consumption. So what happened is the palm oil has a good biodiesel resource. So mostly that will be go for the biodiesel resource because even all the canola is 10% is being used by European Union. And even if you see the list of the major 5 users of the palm oil, the European Union form on the third part. The reason being they use those oil for the biofuel because they have a strict regulation to use that biofuel. So I do not think that there is any competition beyond for us from the because we are not targeting the market of like there is an increasing demand for it which is keep on increasing as we have seen, and then we are only targeting the North American market. So like we will not be importing from the South Asian countries. We are just producing it for our own for at least for 5-10 years.
Thank you, appreciate that. And so Marine has a question / comment. Have you connected with Protein Industries Canada Supercluster? There's a link that is there as well. You may want to look into it further.
Yeah. So basically, I will talk about like protein is mostly into meals. So we will not go into meals right now. I do not know whether the change which we will making will be going to impact the meal. So that's the biggest part. Like entire Canada is currently working on the meal part and increasing the meal content, protein content, so that it will be used for the good for the cattle feed industry. So that's why like people are working on increasing the oil content, making the more better feed. But reality is this is the opportunity which we see. That's how we are different from all others people which are working on it because there is no one who is working on this domain.
Thank you. And so I have a question myself, if I may ask you, if I can ask you. So the one thing that I missed. Even you said you have 5 provisional patents, and then you are continuing to do experiments to get more data, extend the provisional, and then file for the actual patent, right? So you need lab space and continue to be able to do experiments and so on. So I'm
Yeah.
assuming that you have a plan for that, or how does that look like?
Like all the 3-year experiment will be done at the University of Calgary. So that's what I have even shown on my the technical part. So technical part, what we have designed is that will be done at university, which will cost around $650,000 for 3 years. So that's why we require around $150,000 from us to raise that $650,000, and that's where like all the ask and all this is.
Thank you. And I was also going on the scalable question when you talked about the polyunsaturated to monounsaturated to saturated fatty acid. I think that's a major step that you really need to survive through. This company needs to survive, right?
Yeah.
So is that the patent done, or is it also part of your provisional patent?
So basically, we have a combined like 2 enzyme. The 2 enzyme will do that part for us. So we already have existing knowledge that this has already been done, but people has done it in a different. Even canola, this has been achieved, but this has been achieved separately. So now even when the breeding with happened with 17 enzymes, so we don't foresee any challenges to introducing. We will introduce 3 enzymes to it. So we don't foresee any such challenges right now.
Thank you. Appreciate your answers. So we have a few seconds left. If somebody has any burning question for Pankaj before we move on to our second speakers.
I'm just wondering if there's anything else that you need beyond $100,000 today to help you get to the next level.
Or that.
So
Yeah, that's
basically,
a good question.
basically like partnership is already in place. Lab facility is already in place. Like $150,000 and then 450 come from the funding organization. So if there will be any lab which will take around 2 to 3% of our company, and then we can make a joint venture so that I can utilize the resources because some of the funding organizations also see that we have a lab capability. So that will make us a lab capability, and we will able to achieve our funding goal more easily. But we will able to achieve it, but that will be to help us. But then I won't be giving more than 2 to 2.5% of my company for that at this point in time.
Pankaj, great presentation. I'm wondering about the I've just read some recent stuff on coconut oil and it potentially having some deleterious effects according to a few different health advisors. And I'm just wondering, have you guys looked into that much? Is that something that's on your radar?
So what happened is this is exactly more healthy. So what happened is if you see the fatty acid chain, so like we cannot use the mustard oil which has been used in the China and India because of the 22 chain length. Our body in cold condition cannot digest it. But people thought that the same thing is for the even the coconut and palm oil. Palm oil, yes, this is harmful to that because harmful to our health because it won't melt. Coconut oil is a bit different. It looks solid at Canadian conditions, but it is liquid at our body temperature. So it will never choke in our veins or never cause any of the health problem. That's when now people in US and Canada start using coconut oil as oil for their foods and all that stuff. So that's how that's how the entire health concern has been shifted from saturated oil to see as an unhealthy option to see them as a healthy option because their digestibility is totally different. It get absorbed rather than the spitting and all that happening. So that's why it is now seen as a more healthier option rather than unhealthy option.
Thank you,
Awesome. I
Pankaj.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So there's a comment for you, Pankaj, from Chandra Spencer. You might want to take a look. In the interest of time, we'll move to our second set of speakers. So we have Steve Jakeway. He's the CEO of Reveal Medical Corporation, and we have Doug Abrahams, Vice President also for Medical and Regulatory Affairs from Reveal Medical Corporation. And we are going to hear some exciting events about mobile cancer diagnostics. So having said that, the floor is yours. Let's stop Pankaj's screen share and we allow Steve.
We're just waiting for Steve.
Oh, I hear. I just got to get it up and running. Okay, there we go.
Okay, thank you. And again, if you have any questions, please post in the chat box. Thank you so much.
Okay, excellent. Thanks very much for the opportunity to chat with you guys this afternoon about mobile cancer diagnostics. One of the premier diagnostic instruments that is used today in the diagnosis of cancers is PET-CT, and it's only available in the major cities in Alberta, and likewise across Canada. It's only available in major urban centers. And in Alberta, there's an opportunity that we believe takes into account the rural opportunity to provide this service to equalize out the health provision for smaller centers. In taking a look at the cost viability of this technology, you need about $500,000 people to support one unit, and the vast majority of rural areas do not have that population. The obvious solution there, which is tried and true in Europe and in the US, is a mobile system that can be moved around to support these smaller population centers. The cost of these systems are on the order of about $2 million, which is about the same cost as a permanent center, minus the construction of a fixed facility. So we believe this is a very cost-effective way to provide high-end cancer diagnostics to parts of the province that wouldn't be able to afford a fixed site based on their own population. We've looked at providing this service into Grand Prairie, Red Deer, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, and Fort McMurray. This again will provide a high-end service to populations within these areas. Benefits of PET-CT takes a look at combining the abnormalities seen by CT as well as the biochemistry with PET, or positron emission tomography, and allows you to pinpoint where the tissues and organ function is abnormal. Early detection and determination of the extent of disease is really critical for patient management. And we know that that if we know what the good data is, that we can improve patient management and then improved outcome for these patients. Certainly from a rural or smaller urban centers, the ability to get access to these facilities is a challenge, and the ability to interact with your physician who's taking care of you is a challenge when you have to go upwards of 12 hours away from home to do that. And the likelihood of making these diagnostic, getting advantage of these diagnostic opportunities are directly related to the distance away from the facility. The ability to take this to the patients will provide a number of benefits, not only to the patient, but also to Alberta Healthcare Services. In what they call developed countries, the World Health Organization recommends 2 PET-CT units per 1 million population, so for about 1 for every 500,000. Canada is well behind. While behind this, Alberta has about 4 scanners for the entire province, or roughly one scanner per million. We know that this technology will be used more and more going forward as it becomes the diagnostic imaging product of choice, as well, if obviously for cancer, but also for neurological conditions. We're seeing some very early signs of the use in Alzheimer's and other dementia-related diseases. This is the only non-invasive technique that allows you to pinpoint the development or the progression of a neurological disease. This is starting to be used more routinely in the US, and that will follow to Canada in the very near future, which will drive demand for these products and this service. As I mentioned, PET-CT is only available in Edmonton in Canada, because of the population base and the infrastructure. Using that mobile platform will be able to provide this advanced diagnostic service to all Albertans. And additionally, because of the modality of the system, we can just run just CT as well. Although that's not preferred, obviously, with the system, but it can absolutely take advantage of areas of where there is issues on getting CT. And the mobility aspect allows us to drive it around the province as needed. It can also be set up in Edmonton and Calgary to take a look at private PET CT as needed as well. And we've been in contact with Insight Medical here in Edmonton to see how we might be able to partner with this group in providing this service to Edmonton and also to surrounding areas as well. Initially, we're going to be taking a look at oncologic imaging, focused on FDG. This particular product is produced out of the cyclotrons here in Edmonton. We've had ongoing relationship with this organization for many, many years. Doug Abrams actually ran the facility here that produced FDG. Following that, we'll take a look at PSMA for prostate cancer. And as I said, diagnostic CT can be used without PET if required. And if we take a look at future services down the road, we're taking a look at other oncological imaging aspects of it, cardiac through rubidium, and then neurological imaging, which we expect to be a fairly significant service in the next 5 years. The benefits of PET CT for cancer diagnostics, its ability to stage small, small or non-small lung cancers, be able to differentiate diagnostics in solitary pulmonary nodes with regard to lungs, restaging of colorectal cancers, and restaging of a couple of other Hodgkin's and non-Hodgkin's lymphomas. The amount of data you get from PET CT is by far and away the most superior diagnostic technique available to clinicians today, particularly with regard to cancer. You don't get the metabolite analysis through any other modality. And being a non-invasive technique, this is fairly easy to set up, and usually takes about between 60 and 90 minutes to have a patient run through this system. And we took a look at how PET CT addresses the goals for AHS. Obviously, from accessibility, we take the technology to the province. It allows patients living in Grand Prairie, in Lacrete, in Lethbridge, in Stettler, wherever, Rocky View, access to this technology where they don't have to go into the big cities. We know that many patients in the rural communities do not like coming into Edmonton and Calgary. They find it too big. They would rather drive an hour the other way than to drive half an hour into the city. And we know that's an issue from other medical treatments as well. Acceptability. This is an easy way to get scanned. It's very effective and very appropriate for what we want to do for the cancer diagnostics. And it is extremely safe service. And again, this is not a new technology. This is something that we're bringing to Canada because it's not been developed here yet. It's mobile PET CT has been used in the US for the better part of 15 years and probably the better part of a decade in Europe. So this is not a new technology. This is something that we can overlay and provide increased efficiencies to and flexibility to AHS. Benefits to patients, obviously. Why would they want to come to this service? Well, obviously it's closer to home, far more convenient. A lot of the diagnostic costs are obviously covered by AHS. What they don't cover is transportation and lodging for patients coming from out of town. And this is a significant loss to the patient with regard to travel, transportation, lost wages, etc. And you're more than likely having to come with somebody else. So there's going to be 2 people taking time off work for you to come in and get your scan. You got 90 minutes maximum to be in Edmonton, and you could be gone for 24 hours or more. And then the benefits to patients obviously is for patient care and follow-up is provided by your local doctor and your local clinician. And this is really key for patients that they trust their healthcare provider. Of the 17 cancer care facilities in Alberta throughout the province, only 2 have local PET CT, and that's obviously Edmonton and Calgary. So why should AHS be interested in this? Improve patient access, as we previously discussed. Improve local infrastructure. We can assist with local radiologists. We can put in and then train them as well. Improve capital requirements and utilization efficiencies. It makes no sense to put in a PET CT, a couple of $1 million plus probably $5 million in building expenses into a facility like the Grand Prairie Hospital, where you're only going to be utilizing it maybe 20% of the time. Extremely wasteful use of money, and particularly in this current environment. And so this allows for the price of a scanner to be able to access 5 other major jurisdictions within major regions within the province outside of Edmonton and Calgary. And it's fast and efficient for existing systems like PET CT. You could, if the PET CT system comes down in Edmonton, or even CT in other rural areas, that we can provide these mobile systems into various parts of Alberta very, very easily. So a very efficient way to back up existing systems without the additional capital requirements. Cost to AHS, we will charge them a similar fee to what they bill internally for a PET CT. And this is one of our issues that I mentioned to you, Michael, is that AHS really doesn't know what their cost for PET CT is. Our pricing will include the PET scan, all materials, transportation, logistics, etc., and personnel to run the system. And we figure that's about $1,200 in cost right now. And that'll give us about a 40% margin, gross margin, or net margin, sorry, after all things said and done for us. We've got positive support from groups all around the province, including NukeMed groups in Grand Prairie, Red Deer, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat. We've met groups in Red Deer and Lethbridge already, and spoken to the other 2. We've got very good feedback from Insight Medical here in Edmonton. Doctors Ruth Collins-Nakai, Charlie Butts, and Neil Philipchuk, very, very supportive. Charlie Butts was a former director of community oncology. Ruth Collins-Nakai was the head of Canadian Medical Association for a number of years. And also we met in person with Dean Ruther, who is the current director of community oncology in Calgary, and he's very, very supportive of this process. What we haven't been able to do is crack the nut of Alberta Health Services. He's talked about the proposed sites representing about 900,000 people within the province. We've run some of these numbers through here, and we know we can make this system work. And so here we are. We're hoping to have 1 unit in Alberta, pending obviously discussions with AHS, and potentially expand this into southern Saskatchewan and southwest Manitoba as well. Expected revenue is about $7 to $8 million per unit once fully utilized, at about a 40% net margin. Some financials there depending on KPI for total revenue, net income, and total scans. And then KPIs for cost per scan as it goes down over time based on utilization. Principals, myself, been in the industry for 15 years. Doug Abrams, more than 30 years within cancer diagnostics across Canada. And we've got a few people who are helping us out right now. John Murphy, CEO of Stream, Curtis Mohammed, a NukeMed specialist, and then Insight Medical from an industry partner. And that's a little bit about Reveal Medical. Happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for this nice presentation. So let's jump in right away to questions in the interest of time. I'm going to truncate the first question, which is very timely and very not to the point, which says, what is the estimated future projection for using PET CT as a method of choice for clinicians in Canada, so to say, for detection of abnormalities? Do we have any projection on that?
Yeah, certainly from a cancer perspective, this is going to become the premier technique. In addition, the other modalities is obviously into neurodiagnostics for Alzheimer's. I'd have to get you the numbers, what we expect on those. I've looked at them, so I don't have them off the top of my head, but we're very, very confident that we can run those numbers. The expectation is due to the numbers, both from a cancer perspective and a neurological perspective. And even rubidium for heart, that we could easily take one truck in Alberta over a couple of years and put a second truck in Alberta based on the number of scans that we expect. Profitability for us, we probably need to run about 6 to 8 scans a day at a minimum.
And so because the scans are not done currently, are there any guidelines for detection, for imaging? Are there any standard protocols?
Absolutely. The scans have been done for years here in Alberta. There are PET CTs based in Edmonton and Calgary. There are 2 or 3. I think there's 2 in Calgary, 3, maybe 2 or 3 in Edmonton. They've been done for years, and the issue is that as population ages, that's one thing. As the cancer rates increase, and as some of these other modalities come on board, the usage requirements for this system is going to go up and up and up. And what we're offering at AHS is the opportunity to take away the capital requirements by having a mobile system, having a system that's fully utilized to be able to cover the province, as opposed to putting an underutilized specialized equipment that sits idle for up to 60 to 80% of the time in different regions.
So along that line that you are mentioning about providing the services, the existing guideline, once you are establishing your services that you are proposing now, are there any other AHS services that you can also deliver using the same concept or with the same mobile vehicle?
There's a number. I mean, they've done kidney dialysis and MRI through mobile systems throughout over the last 2 decades in Alberta. As some of the other hospitals come on board, bigger hospitals, those things become less and less a need from a mobile perspective. We get into CT as well as an offering just with the system we've got. We can look at other mobile systems. It really depends, and we would have to evaluate what exactly that opportunity is vis-a-vis the existing technology in the various regions. MRI is certainly one of them, but it's more and more ubiquitous, and it's currently MRI is provided by other private healthcare like MIC and Insight.
Thank you. And so one of the good suggestions, if you haven't tried already, from Stephen, was that are you focusing on indigenous population as well? Because there might be some, I understand there might be some programs that you can find.
There certainly is, and the issue around supporting just is that part as an individual cell. You do need to have a minimum population base to support the technology. As I said, you need to be running about 6 to 8 patients per day based on the cancer rates. I did have an estimate on cancer rates that was data provided by AHS. The indigenous community is just not big enough to support that in and of itself.
Okay, thank you. And so in the interest of time, I'm just going to ask one question, and then there are comments that you can read. One of the questions was that what IP do you envision, or would you be able to develop through this service, or do you see it from my side like a competition? Because once you establish that, well, obviously there are some other people who might want to jump in.
Absolutely. There isn't really IP around the cancer diagnostics itself. The difference, what we're providing is the delivery method for the technology. Is it? Yeah, absolutely. Can someone else do this? Yeah, as I said, these are done in the States all the time. These are done other places. This is not unique technology. The technology risk is not there. I can lease this equipment tomorrow from GE or Siemens. And it's the ability to provide this service in a unique method that is not currently available in Canada, which is a differentiator. Absolutely, competition's an issue. We're not developing technology to do that. We're taking existing technology that's proven out in other areas like northern New York, or other areas, Minnesota, etc., where temperatures are similar to what we do. This is not a technology risk issue. This is a delivery platform and a unique way to deliver the platform that has been proven in other jurisdictions that we can migrate here.
Thank you so much. And I think in the interest of time, I'll stop here and give back to either of the Michaels who can take over from here.
All right, it's my pleasure to introduce Michael Bosdet from the TSGI team. He's going to be chairing our next session for the next hour, and he'll introduce our first speaker.
Yeah, thanks very much. It is actually my turn this time, so I will get things off and running here. Yeah, no, excited to see these next pitches. So certainly Drew, and I hope I get your last name right here, Drew Moxon, is that correct?
Yeah, you got that. That's right.
Perfect. All right. So we've got Drew Moxon, who's the finance lead, and if I'm not mistaken, a recent engineering grad as well.
That's right.
He's here to speak about Summit Nanotech and some of their very cool lithium extraction technology. So Drew, if you can share your screen, we'll let you get this off and running.
Perfect. I'll share the entire screen. First off, can you see this screen here?
Yep, you bet.
And you can see the presentation now.
And that one's going to be a lot more interesting. Yeah, that'll be good.
Perfect. Yeah, you don't like the oil and gas process there. That's my background. Okay, I'll get it off running. So did you know that the production process for a lithium-ion battery emits 60% more GHG emissions than making the engine for a combustion engine vehicle? Now, how can we say the transition to an electric future is clean and renewable? Well, the mining practices behind this transition remain prehistoric and dirty. So my name is Drew Moxon. My background is in chemical engineering and finance. And with the help of the Summit team, I intend to fix this at the root of the problem, which is lithium mining. So I would like to start off my presentation with a brief note from the CEO, which stands as the overarching theme at Summit Nanotech. So it says here is Summit. We are building the mine of the future by setting new standards for lithium extraction today. Now, the importance of lithium is clear. It is a required material for electric vehicles, renewable energy storage, and most portable equipment and electronics. On top of these, lithium is also trusted as globally as a national security metal and is the lightest, most energy-dense element on Earth, making it most suitable for electromobility and electronics. Now, to us at Summit, this indicates that lithium will not be replaced. So there are two main problems with lithium production today, environmental and economical. We'll start with environmental. There are currently three methods available for lithium mining. Method one is hard rock mining, as you can see in the photo on the left. And then this method causes irreversible damage to landscape and wildlife environments. As well, the hard rock mining process is very energy and chemically intensive. Method two is extraction from liquid brine solutions, as you can see on the right. Now, this method produces massive amounts of solid waste and requires a large land footprint for operations. And similar to hard rock mining, this method is also energy and chemically intensive. Method three, which we don't have a photo of here, is extraction from clay deposits. The main problems with this method are, first, it is yet to be proven economically viable. So there are no companies that are currently doing this on a commercial scale. And then similar to the hard rock mining, it's also very energy and chemically intensive. And the destructive to the natural environment is you're displacing layers from the Earth's crust and not replacing them. So Elon Musk is actually currently looking for methods to produce the lithium from his Nevada clay deposit, and our process can handle these types of deposits, which is cool. So we can all see a clear trend in the current processes and that they are not environmentally friendly whatsoever. So we'll move on to the second problem, which is the economical problem. And from an economic standpoint, it's obvious. The lithium-ion ecosystem is evolving and will be strained due to massive growth for battery transportation. You can see in the illustration here that by 2022, the demand will be greater than the operational supply. And then by 2027, even if all new projects are financed and recycled supply is used, there still won't be enough supply to meet the projected demand. So there's a big void between supply and demand here. And from a societal standpoint, we need to begin the transition to renewable energy sources. So the doomsday clock in New York City says we have 7 years until the world's carbon budget is depleted, and sustainable energy storage and transportation is at the forefront of this transition. I mean, without doubt, we are at the initial stages of the trend and desire to reduce dependency on fossil fuels for all forms of transportation. So how big is this opportunity? The easiest way to answer that is to provide hard numbers. So the total available market is found to be 187 billion, with a serviceable available market of 114 billion and a serviceable attainable market of 22 billion. The most cost-effective lithium carbonate production in the world occurs in the Lithium Triangle in South America. So this is specifically Chile and Argentina, which, as you can see here, is over 60% of the addressable market. This is Summit's initial target market here. So our solution is a high-yield direct lithium extraction process. The main differences that are apparent in this illustration here are the raw brine is taken directly from the wellhead and pumped to our lithium extraction unit. The spent brine is re-injected without any chemical changes. It is the exact same brine, it's just missing the lithium. So inside of our containment center is a 7-stage separation, purification, and reaction process, which produces a high-quality, solid, battery-grade lithium carbonate product. And we are currently also developing a lithium hydroxide process, which is very similar to the carbonate process with a few key changes to acquire the desired end product. So simply put, into one end goes raw brine, liquid solution containing lithium, and out the other end, we get a solid state battery grade lithium product. So lithium mining is our beachhead market. And as we'll discuss later, our technology is a platform technology and can be applied to many other rare earth metal and mineral mining sectors. So the lithium miners face many problems with the traditional extraction process. Number one is poor yield. Traditional mines are currently getting less than 40% yield, with some companies reporting yield as low as 15%. Yield is a percentage of the lithium in the raw brine that you're able to extract and collect. So this low yield results in a huge loss in profitability. Our process is currently showing lithium yield over 80%, which is double the traditional mining company's yield. The next problem we face is the high operating expenditure. Traditional mines have high operating expenditures around 4,500 per ton of LCE, and our process will reduce that to less than 3,200 per ton, with future goals getting that number close to 2,800. Again, increasing the profitability of this project. Third off, we have a high capital expenditure. Traditional mines have high capital expenditure due to the large land footprint and cost of infrastructure for these huge industrial operations. We reduce the capital expenditure by more than half. And then finally, the high time to product. So time to product here indicates the lead time. It takes a traditional mining company upwards of 18 months to go from raw brine from underground to the final purified product. Now, this is mostly because they are relying on solar evaporation, and this is an extremely time-consuming process. So our time to product is 1 day, and we can alter flow rates as well at any point to meet the current market needs. Now, it is extremely important to us that we not only increase the profitability of lithium extraction projects, but we also focus on improving the environmental impacts of these projects, which is why we put sustainability at the forefront of all innovation at Summit Nanotech. So here are a few key sustainability impacts directly attributed to our direct lithium extraction process. Number one, it reduces land area. So our compact processing units with a fully integrated design use on average 26 times less land area when compared to the current solution mining practices. Number two, we drastically reduce freshwater requirements. So we have leveraged advances in membrane water recovery technologies and designed the process with the least amount of water possible. This is an industry first. This allows us for over 50% reduction in fresh water when compared to current mining technologies. Now, the end goal is to require zero freshwater input for our process, and we are currently developing a technology to do so. Third off, we create 90% less chemical waste. So current practices use harsh chemicals for polishing stages. We eliminate the need for chemical use on a commercial scale using physical separation instead of a chemical separation. Now, the only chemicals used are for reaction purposes to produce the final product. And as we mentioned earlier, our waste is not really considered waste. We like to call it lithium depleted brine. It is the exact same as the initial feedstock, it's just missing the lithium. And fourth is just a cherry on top. We also capture carbon dioxide. So we have a company in Calgary called Clean02. They created a carbon capture system, which will be fully integrated into our commercial unit. So their system takes carbon dioxide rich flue gas streams and converts the dioxide into a carbonate. The carbonate product from the capture system will be used in our process to create our end lithium carbonate product. It's a very innovative and elegant way to produce, to use the raw materials for our feedstock. Now, our business model is very simple and has been praised by many of our potential customers as well as investors. It consists of modular skid loadable processing units with a total install cost of $7 million. And our revenue model consists of a contracted recurring revenue based on the volume processed and a fixed one-time setup fee, which is a percentage of the overall CapEx. Us at Summit, we build, own, and operate, maintain our 1,000 meter cube per day self-contained modular units. These units are delivered and deployed at lithium producing well sites and are plug and play with a 2-week commissioning period. We have automated control systems, remote IoT, and sensor data collection, with each unit being monitored 24/7 by field staff. Our first pilot partner is right here in Canada, Prairie Lithium. We've recently done a tour of the operation in Saskatchewan, and the CEO is eager to implement our technology. We have also landed a pilot partner with Lithium Chile for 3 paid pilots in 2021 this year. Our first pilot with them is currently in construction and scheduled to commission in July of 2021 this year. Lithium Chile is a Canadian company which owns brine assets in Chile. And so you might say, why Chile or why the different locations? Well, the selection of where to operate is mostly based on brine concentrations, and Chile is known to have the highest lithium concentrations in the world, and higher concentrations means a more profitable operation. So that's a bit about our Chilean partner. We also have a pilot partner in the USA. So 3 Proton Lithium has discovered lithium brine in Nevada with high lithium concentrations that are comparable to those in Chile. This is right down the road from the Tesla Gigafactory, so perhaps a nice addition to their supply chain. And Simon Moores from Benchmark Minerals warned the US Senate in 2020 that a new global lithium-ion economy is being created and the USA is being left behind. Now, there are a few companies trying to change that, and our goal is to be among the first few available commercial solutions in the USA. 3P should help us get there. So here's a list of all the brine producing companies in the world organized by country, and our scale-up strategy as follows. So we'll start in South America, specifically Chile and Argentina, where demand for the technology and lithium reserves are the largest. From South America, we'll move to the USA and Canada and target lithium brine, geothermal brine, and petrolithium from oil and gas companies. And then finally, we'll penetrate the European market, which is mostly geothermal brines. Our sales forecast show the adoption of our technology by 6 customers, all of which we have strong communication with and intentions to pilot. Each customer has a gradual increase, so companies with larger reserves like Albemarle grow more aggressively than those with smaller reserves like Wealth Minerals. With the gradual increase in year after year production with 6 key customers, our model shows that we can make over $1 billion per annum in revenue by 2026. Now, this only here represents only 9% of the total addressable market. And this is a high growth market with lithium demand expected to grow over 500% in the next 5 years. So to achieve this 9% market capture shown on the previous slide, we will deploy 186 total units to the field, fully operational by 2026. This translates to some hard financials of an after-tax cash flow of $504 million per year, a 47% IRR, a 55% gross margin, and a payback period of just over 1 year. As I mentioned earlier, it is important to know that we have a platform technology, and lithium is simply the beachhead market. So brine solutions contain many metals and minerals, including iodine, yttrium, cerium, and the list goes on. So after capturing the lithium market and generating recurring sustainable revenues, we intend to use our working capital and large cash reserves to invest in other metal and mineral extraction projects using very similar clean technology. This will diversify our company, increase growth, and then best of all, bring sustainable technology to the rest of the dirty mining industry. We have an amazing team filled with resource extraction experience and a lot of technical knowledge, including 5 engineers, 2 PhD chemists, and 2 geophysicists. We also have a very strong technical advisory board composed of mining executives, engineers, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and chemists. As well, our strategic advisory board brings expansive networks and international scale-up experience. Our potential has been well recognized through numerous awards and recognitions. Our most recent was the Cleantech Open, where we were chosen as the regional winner out of 180 cleantech companies. And then not shown here, but we were also recently accepted into Third Derivative, which is a large startup incubator based out of the USA. This here lists our competition. So in an independent study, Bloomberg New Energy Finance ranked our technology #1 compared to our competitors. They used key metrics such as sustainability, economics, scalability, and product grade. As I mentioned earlier, we are currently in the detailed engineering stage and construction of our pilot unit. We intend to launch the unit in April and commission before July of 2021, with the reason for the pilot being to collect key process and economic data required for scale-up. In 2022, we will launch 2 demo units producing 100 meters cubed per day. And then finally, at the end of 2022 and into 2023, we will launch our 1,000 meter cube per day full-size commercial plant and begin recurring revenues and scale-up strategy in 2023. So a little bit about the capital scale-up strategy. We bootstrapped the company for the first 2 years and received $2.5 million in non-dilutive funding. We just closed a $1.5 million seed financing, enough for 18 months of runway. And next up, we'll be opening a Series A raise in March 2021, coming up very close, to raise $10 million required to build our demo units. Following that, in July 2022, we are opening a Series B to raise $50 million required to build and deploy 6 1,000 meter cube per day commercial units. And our goal and exit is to use a scale-up strategy with our 6 key customers listed before to reach a valuation of over $1 billion. We'll look at potential mergers and acquisitions, and our goal is to be acquired by 2026. This strategy here will generate a 20x return to Series A investors. So I'll tell you now that the lithium is a future of transportation and will lead our society down a more sustainable path. Some at Nanotech is passionately pursuing a day that we can say as a society we planned ahead and put the technology in place to meet the demands of growing lithium market using responsible and cost-effective technology. So thank you all for listening, and please feel free to reach out to myself or Amanda at any time, and I'll go ahead and answer questions now.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Drew. That was terrific. Okay, so, because I get to chair the session, I get to ask the first question if I darn well want to. So I'm going to go ahead so this is a membrane recovery technology. So I'm just wondering if you could comment on, the maintenance cycles, maintenance costs, and how susceptible this is to fouling, especially as you're talking about heading into some of these other potential areas, and obviously a lot of different sources of lithium.
Yeah, generally speaking, when you go to Chile and you look at their brines, they're relatively clean. When compared to geothermal and obviously oil and gas operations, those brines are completely different. So that's why we're not tackling those right now. The brines that you see in South America are clean. And then with regards to any membrane maintenance or anything, the only one stage of our 7-step process is actually a membrane stage. And so we see pretty typical fouling from all the results that we currently have in our lab. The fouling is relatively typical that you get with a saline solution, and our operating costs that we've calculated reflect the fouling. So hopefully that answers without going into too much detail.
Without getting into the secret sauce. Okay.
That's right.
Okay, fair enough. So first question here from TJ. Actually, TJ, do you want to unmute and just go ahead and ask your question here?
Sure, yeah. Great presentation, Drew. I was just wondering about the potential threat of other kinds of technological advancements. I know I've read a little bit about sodium ion batteries and then ceramic batteries. I don't know if any of these pose any kind of threat existentially to lithium technology.
So I'm relatively far from the market research and BD side, but what I can say from what I heard and what I've known right now is that the battery advancements that are being made right now are for solid state batteries, not for batteries that are transportable. So they wouldn't use those type of batteries in an electric vehicle or a cell phone or anything that's mobile, but they could replace lithium when it comes to a solid infrastructure that's not mobile, if that kind of makes sense.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Drew.
Great. And then Elliot, you've got a question here as well.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation. Just my question was relating to the variability in brine lithium concentration that you mentioned. Does that variation kind of impact your yield percentage that you referred to in the presentation?
So it more so affects the profitability. I would say once we dip down below a certain ppm or milligram per liter, a concentration in that solution, then the operations they become unprofitable, basically just because there's not enough lithium in that amount of volume to cover our operating costs. But with regards to the concentration, we can handle a wide range of concentration. The second stage in our 7-step process is really the heavy lifter. It does most of the lithium extraction, and then following the second stage, it's mostly just separation and purification processes to further purify that product. But after that second step, we basically have a solution that is majority lithium, and there's this finite other a few pieces of impurities, but we're totally able to handle a wide range of brine concentrations to a certain extent, up and down.
Great, thanks.
Okay. And then Michael, you've got a question about China.
Yeah, just wondering how China features. I didn't see it in your roadmap in terms of IP, competition, partnering.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking. So our business model is different in the fact that we're kind of a copy of software as a service, but we're hardware as a service. So we build, own, operate, and maintain our own units, and so we're going to the site and we're processing the lithium, but then the customer is actually the one who's selling the product, and then they're paying us. So it's a bit of a strange business model there. But so with regards to China, we would talk to upgraders in China, possibly about partnerships there. So companies like ChemFizz, and there's a couple others. But I mean, competition in China is no different than it is, I would say, here. I don't think that they're following sustainable practices when they're implementing new extraction technology, which is huge right now, especially in South America and Canada and North America as well. In South America, they're banning the use of fresh water in a lot of their lithium extraction processing, and there's other trends that China won't be able to follow as we transition to a more sustainable future.
Okay, great. Thanks very much for that. So we've got about, by my clock here, about 30 seconds or so. Just wanted to ask a really quick follow on, just in terms of your timing from your scale up. You got quite a rapid scale up from your demonstration scale to your commercial scale, about a 1 year turnaround in that. Any real concerns, roadblocks that you foresee coming up with that?
I mean, the future is unpredictable, and I mean, if it was predictable, I'd probably be a millionaire right now in the markets. But it's aggressive. It's definitely an aggressive scale-up strategy. I think that with the technology we're using right now, the biggest benefit that we have is that a lot of it is confirmed scalable. So a lot of the processing equipment we use is off the shelf, and then we're just worried about the scalability of our proprietary equipment and our proprietary modules, which we have proven scalable as well. So moving from bench scale to pilot has been a challenge, but I don't think pilot to demo will be as much. And then demo to commercial, it would just be at the demo, you're already using commercial equipment, pumps, lines, everything. And so demo to commercial, I don't think will be a big challenge, which is why we can see that aggressive time frame there.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Drew.
For sure. Yep.
All right, let's move on. Oh, Rob, you're on top of things. That's excellent. So yeah, just really happy to introduce from Airterra, Rob Lavoie and Don Harfield, some names that I've crossed paths with before. Really excited to hear what's going on with Airterra. So I'll let you guys take it away.
Full screen, please. And unmute.
And yeah.
Okay. And I'm trying to actually show the other screen for myself here. I don't know why it's not doing it. Anyway.
You can see your outline.
Okay. So my name is Rob Lavoie. I'm with Airterra, and I'm the president of Airterra, and Don Harfield is with us today, our VP. And this is the outline of the talk. So we're just going to move right into it here. So Airterra is currently marketing biochar for horticulture and et cetera in Canada. Airterra was founded in 2009 and was the first Canadian company to register a biochar product through the CFIA in 2015. Biochar is a soil enhancing charcoal made from clean biological material. Our feedstock is residual wood from the forest industry. And our manufacturing process is a thermochemical process called pyrolysis. Airterra is currently contracting biochar production, and as such, supply is limited, costs are high. Our proposed production facility will fill the gap for that. We want to locate close to low-cost trucking routes. Airterra is seeking a major investor to build a 10-ton per day manufacturing plant that will also produce 1.5 megawatts of renewable power. Biochar is a resilient to decomposition product, and as such, it qualifies for carbon credits.
You lost your screen, Rob.
Oh, sorry.
Just move
Yeah.
the presentation screen over.
Okay,
Thanks.
sorry. I've got to move it. Okay, sorry. I'll have to move it back. No, I can't. Why is that? Oh, okay. No, I can't do that. Oh, there it is.
It's back. Thanks.
Okay, all right, sorry.
There we go.
I'll just have to do this way. Yeah. Yeah, so it qualifies, biochar qualifies for carbon credits under the UNFCCC and the IPCC, and it will qualify for voluntary carbon credits through Verra soon because they're working on a carbon standard for biochar right now. Airterra has an assurance of woody feedstock. We're in the process of securing woody feedstock at this point, and we have selected a proven Canadian design for a pyrolysis system through a company called Green Gen Tech. It has a TRL of 8, and they have 30 demonstrated units in China. So what we're promoting is a circular marketing loop from feedstock to customer. So for example, this is a case where we have coppice willow plantations that are being harvested every 3 years, and we take that woody feedstock, convert it to biochar and renewable electricity. That's sold to farmers, and they use it in their organics, or municipalities, and they use it in their municipal organics as well to do a co-composting process. And then that compost is taken back to the field for increasing crop productivity. We're promoting increased biochar production from this plant will enable an agricultural use in field trials and municipal organic co-composting demonstration projects. We're already providing a biochar product for example, for farm soil regeneration and for industrial site reclamation. This is a case on the right. The picture on the right is a SAGD site reclamation in Saskatchewan with Saskatchewan Polytech. So the objective in the project plan is to build and establish a commercial residual wood pyrolytic plant, 10-ton per day capacity, generate a vigorous circular marketing economy, enhance the biochar economics with renewable electricity and carbon credits, capture and manage data from the use on these academic comparisons, and then publish papers to create awareness. The selected pyrolysis technology is Green Gen Tech's system. Green Gen is based in Ottawa. Of course, the TRL is 8, but Airterra will enhance the process the post-processing of the biochar to create a high-value soil matrix biochar that we market. Electrical generation is 1.5 megawatts, as we said. So, scope of work is secure the feedstock agreements, biochar takeaway agreements, and confined animal feeding operations agreements. Then also have carbon credit sales through Verra's VCS market. We would co-locate and develop the project site, construct and commission a facility, hire and train staff, and then focus on marketing. Airterra has a recognized expertise in each of these areas. So it's a 2-stage development. The first stage is 18 months to build and commission the first pyrolyzer. And then the second stage is a scale up to a total of 3 pyrolyzers over another 18 months. This is a photo on the left of the Green Gen Tech pyrolysis device. And the total capital for 3 units is $10 million, including land and all the other infrastructure. The yearly operating costs will be 2.7 million, yearly gross margin about 3.6, and yearly net earnings of 2.3 million. So this is going to potentially impact jobs and markets significantly across many sort of cross-cutting industries: regenerative agriculture, forestry, transportation, bioindustry, manufacturing, reclamation industry, etc. But carbon credits and actual renewable electrical power sales will be enable the pricing on the product. So our solution is to provide better soils, enhanced composts for municipal organics and farming organics, animal manure. It's a game-changing Canadian design for a pyrolytic system and low-cost power generation. We're seeking investors with an environmental vision, seeking co-location with close to good wood residuals, feedstocks, and the project is shovel ready on that basis. So our 3-year plan: fully commission a plant and generate 10 tons per day of reliable biochar production. The 5-year vision is to have carbon credits and renewable power sales to support sales of biochar. We may have actually ultimately get into animal biochar as an animal feed ingredient as well, and other possibilities into the future. So thank you very much, and I'll entertain questions.
All right, thank you very much, Rob. That's great.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so just to start us off here, I was just wondering if you could just maybe talk about, obviously you want some money to get this plant built, but what are some of the major barriers right now that you're finding?
Yeah, we need to find a significant investor who would like to get into this with us. We have the expertise, but we need the investor to come alongside.
Okay, and then you also talked about the need to secure agreements. How far along are you in that process?
We're still working on that, of course, but we've gotten a start on that. But it's just we're just in the very first phases of all of that, so it's a blank slate at this point.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, so then we do have questions showing up in the chat here. So TJ, I'll let you jump in here again.
Sure. Hey, great job, Rob. I definitely, it seems like a really exciting opportunity. I'm wondering, I guess, other than publishing papers, what's your go-to-market strategy as far as getting early adopters to just implement your biochar soils, getting those into the hands of customers using it, and what is the switching cost estimated for them?
Well, our go-to-market is we already are in the market. We just aren't in there with a product that's reasonably cost because the scale isn't large enough. But the main market that we're going after is organics on farm and organics municipal organics. So we'll be approaching municipalities to be using biochar as a co-composting ingredient, and confined animal feeding operations is using biochar as an animal bedding ingredient. So once we need to get a number of those organizations on board and to beef up the proposition. As from what you're asking, I think that's what you're asking.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you just tell me what an animal bedding? What's an animal bedding ingredient? How would it work for that?
Biochar would be sprinkled on top of, if I can just go back to that that slide, would be, so this slide has okay. What's going on? Okay, so here's an example. Chicken litter, right? A poultry barn has a bedding. So this is a case where you would just take the biochar and just, in this case, this farmer has taken an entire bulk bag of biochar and just spread it out on top of a cattle manure shed, or a cattle shelter, winter shelter. And then in the spring, that's hauled out and put out into a windrow, and compost it. So what we're trying to achieve is a co-composting of a biochar product. It's a granulated charcoal product that goes in with the bedding, and it's about a 5% by volume amount in the bedding to get a significant impact on compost quality. So you have a biochar fortified or a carbon enhanced compost product at the end of the day.
Okay, and just to follow on that, I'm sorry if I missed it. Did you have have you had any studies around, the efficacy of the co-compost product versus standard?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the innovation that's occurring. It's happening all over the world at this point. There's research going on at almost every university, including University of Lethbridge, University of Alberta, etc. And University of Saskatchewan. There was a study that was done a year ago at the Canadian Light Source that demonstrated how biochar behaves as an ingredient while co-composting with organics. Each charcoal piece gets coated with an organic coating that becomes very highly the nutrients in that compost become highly plant available because of the adsorption onto the biochar pieces.
Okay, really interesting. Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael, do you want to jump in with your questions here?
Sure, just wondering about your patent or IP strategy going forwards.
We have no patents. So the Green Gen Tech has a series of patents to patent their pyrolysis system. Airterra isn't. We're not in the game of doing patents at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does the investor get in return? I hear that you're looking for. Is it about 10 million? And
yes.
Just wondering what they get in return.
So they get a share of the company for sure. And we're also looking at leveraging the investors' funds. So it wouldn't be necessarily 10 million, but possibly 5 million with the leverage of provincial or federal grants that are out there for shovel-ready projects.
Okay, great, thanks. Yeah. Great talk.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And then Rob, maybe I'll just ask one more, just we've got another minute here. Can you speak to the adaptability? You talked about sort of using wood as a primary feedstock, but can you talk about the adaptability of this, of pyrolysis to producing high quality biochar, maybe using other feedstocks? Is there an avenue for that?
Woody feedstock is the very best source because of the physical structure that you get from carbonizing biomass. You get a nice cellular structure of the wood. The skeleton of the cellular structure of the wood is beneficial as in the biochar physics. You get nice porosity and surface area from wood. Anything more herbaceous or whatever is not going to generate as beneficial a biochar.
Okay, terrific. And then I think we've got time for this one more question. Marnie, do you want to ask your question?
Hi, yeah, just picking up in one of your graphics, there seem to imply opportunities for carbon credits at various points in the cycle.
Correct.
So I wonder if one of the main forest companies would make a good partner.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
sure.
It's just a matter of getting the word out to various industry partners. Yeah.
Right.
Rob, if I may just add to that, if I can, Marnie,
yeah.
To answer your question, I'd like to say that we've been in discussion with the sawmills in Cochrane, Sundre, in Grand Prairie, and also in Slave Lake. And we see multiple feedstock opportunities there, as well as in municipalities for some of their waste wood.
Yeah.
Okay, terrific. Good. I'm happy to hear you guys are in talks with all those different entities. That's great. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thanks very much, gentlemen.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Excellent. Let's move on. So we've got one more presentation for this hour. And right now I'd like to invite Leanne and Danielle up, Leanne Brownoff and Danielle Bragge. They're co-founders of VR Pathways. And if you can pull up your presentation here, we'd love to see what you guys have been working on.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, how are you all?
We're doing well. We need to see your screen though.
We can do that.
Perfect.
Leanne's just pulling it up.
Bringing it together right now.
Can you all see that?
Is that showing up for you all?
You bet. That looks great.
Perfect. 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 So just let us know when you want us to begin.
I think we're all ready.
Good to go. All right. Leanne, you're
all
up.
right. Well, thank you so much, Michael. We would like to start off with a short video that introduces the VR brain. Remember when you first started your job? You felt on top of the world. Your brain was pumping your body with neurotransmitters called dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, the natural chemicals that make us feel happy, successful, and optimistic. But then things started to change. There were stresses and deadlines and longer hours. Then you noticed it wasn't just you. Your team was struggling too, emotionally, mentally, and physically. Morale was low. Then COVID hit. You had to change the way you did business. You and your team are exhausted. In less than 15 minutes a day, we can help you get your spark and mental strength back to conquer your daily challenges. Introducing VR Brain, your on-demand lifeline to mental health and wellness. Experience the world, expand your brain, and create positive mental pathways to move your mountains and take on the world.
Thanks, Leanne. Canada and the world are experiencing alarming levels of stress, anxiety, and burnout. And we're finding that these silent killers, through medical research, is reducing the brain's cognitive ability for things like problem solving, focused thinking, planning, organizing, and even simple decision making. But I bet you're wondering, okay, that's great, but how big is the problem really? Well, prior to COVID, 1 in 5 Canadians had mental health concerns. And just in the last year alone, the ratio has risen to 1 in 4. It's impacting everything from productivity in the workplace to families to social lives. Now, again, in Canada before COVID-19, it was estimated that mental health issues cost the Canadian economy $51 billion per annum. Globally, the World Health Organization stated that lack of productivity, and this is just due to mental health alone, is costing companies over $1 trillion per annum. And the problem continues. Health and stamina continue to be depleted, production is trending down, sick time and absenteeism are on the rise. And then there's also the other side of the population. And some of you might even be those people. I know I'm one of those people. I consider myself highly strung, or maybe I'm just prone to stress. Well, this portion of the population aren't even aware that they need some sort of mental support help or support. We really need to find a way to put an end to the cycle before it destroys more businesses and more families.
So how did this all happen? Understanding the brain provides the answer to part of this question. The brain is remarkable. While it processes everything around us, it is wired to pick up and hold on to negative thoughts as a safety mechanism. But if these negative thoughts continue, they develop into neurological pathways that interfere with higher cognitive thinking, such as learning and problem solving. We all experience negative thoughts, but sometimes they can interfere with work performance, relationships, and just your overall well-being. Over time, these thoughts can become deeply ingrained ruts, just like the tires getting stuck in the snow. The more those tires spin, the deeper the ruts. In our brain, this is called negative plasticity. The ruts are right in front of us. Rejection, insecurity, failure. The good news is the brain can change. You can definitely teach an old dog new tricks with the right application. With sensory immersive stimulation, the brain begins to create new pathways, combine powerful messaging, and the brain begins to bypass the old to create new. We chose virtual reality because it provides an environment where rewiring the brain can actually occur. We know that when a person reads a message, they retain 10% over time. Hearing the message increases retention to 20%. But in VR, retention skyrockets to 75% because of neuron stimulation in the brain. We've heard that practice makes perfect. Well, increased stimulation of positive pathways creates new habits with long-term results.
So what exactly do we do? Our app, the VR Brain, instantly removes users from their current situation and transports them to some of the world's best nature destinations. The background behind Leanne's screen is an example of one of our destinations. So imagine this in a fully immersive 360 environment with the sounds of nature. Then while we have the users in these natural destinations, we apply a 4-step cognitive behavioral strategy. The first step is we start by priming the brain for learning. To do this, we use guided meditation, which really helps the brain to reduce the fight or flight response. And so what you see behind me is an example of one of our 360 guided meditation locations, and users can decide where they'd like to meditate. Once the meditation has been completed, we move to the second phase. This phase is tied to the specific nature or a specific nature destination. And in this destination, we use metaphors within the natural environment to identify problems and triggers. By using these markers in nature, it helps the brain retain what they've learned in the headset once they go back into the real world. The third and final part of each experience is to teach users techniques to reassess their current struggles or situations and give them tools that they can apply in life and in business. Put all of these together, all of these strategies are meant to help the user understand the relationship between their thoughts and their behaviors. So our competition are primarily phone meditation apps because VR is still considered an emerging technology. Although Trip and Relax are using virtual reality just for the meditation piece. The meditation market itself, though, is predicted to reach $2 billion by next year. And so the trend as it moves upwards is obvious that people are desperately looking for ways to relieve their stress and their anxiety. And then on the other side, last year alone, virtual reality and augmented reality reached $150 billion US dollars last year. So VR is quickly trending to become the next major computing platform. And researchers have now been able to prove that virtual reality can favorably alter the brain. So it's no longer something that we used to see in a science fiction movie or that people are just using for recreational purposes. It's fast becoming a valuable tool used in science and medicine. And when it comes to cognitive behavioral strategies and changing negative thought patterns before they become toxic, we plan to lead the way.
Hi, sorry, Danielle, I jumped the gun on that one. But as Danielle mentioned earlier, 1 in 4 individuals are known to have mental health issues, and that's the gray part of this chart. The remaining blue represents the rest of the population, and it includes those that are not diagnosed due to lack of awareness, lack of personal support, and the inability to access proper assistance, as well as the rest of the population that is also trying to maintain a healthy mental status. If we focus on only 0.5%, that's the tiny slivers on this chart, of each of these populations, by targeting psychologists and therapists, high-stress roles and occupations, and businesses that promote company mental wellness, we begin to see the potential of the VR brain. If our target of 0.5 of the population purchased an annual subscription at our lowest price of $39.99 a month, the potential revenue would be $90.5 million. That's half of 1% of Canada's population. The VR brain is sold online and therefore will be available to the world. The need is great, and VR brain has applications for many potential markets. We expect that the business and personal markets will actually blend together, partly due to COVID, but also because business is run by people and they all have their own personal and complex needs. For businesses to move forward, the individuals need to build healthy futures in their personal lives as well. Taking the VR brain into a cultural realm can be an excellent teaching tool to support inclusion and diversity in schools and in communities and in the workplace. Through storytelling, folklore, and beliefs, cultures can actually present themselves and show the virtues of diversity and inclusion, dispelling myths and strengthening relationships. And our kids are our future. By finding impactful role models can be really challenging for some. The VR brain can engage topics that support the building of healthy minds early on. Through activities, topics that promote self-esteem, being resourceful, living an impactful life, and preparing them to create positive mental pathways for a hopeful future.
So what would investment and mentoring mean to us? Although Leanne and I have built and sold businesses in the past, the tech industry is still quite new to us. So having access to individuals like yourself for advice and support would actually be invaluable to us. We'd also like to be able to complete our library of 72 experiences, offering topics that tackle real world and work-related issues. Our next step would be to build an online journal for users where they can track their milestones, their triggers, their challenges, their successes, develop robust analytics that would include employer ROI, create push notifications to enhance user experience and keep them engaged, and most importantly, reach people who would otherwise not receive the help that they need. In spite of my accent, we are a proud Canadian company, really wanting to help individuals build pathways to a brighter mental future. And thanks for your time today. It's been a privilege, especially that we get to talk on Bell Let's Talk Canada Day. Thank you.
Excellent. Very good little tie-in there. I like that. All right. Thanks so much for your presentation. Really interesting. So my first question is, does a user need a VR headset in order to participate? And if so, what is your solution to getting that out there to the old farts like me who doesn't have a VR headset?
Did you want to take that one, Danielle?
That's actually a great question. Our market entry is going to be into the business community. And so what we would do is offer a bundling package where the headset would come, although we're not selling the headsets, and although as we develop the app, we'd be able to use it on various different VR platforms, we would actually provide a headset to the individuals utilizing it and just build it into the package.
And to add to that, your question, do you need one? Yes, absolutely. This is leading into the whole new realm of what VR is actually doing right now. And some of the statistics that Danielle was talking about shows like the growth that's potentially there. One of the big things about what's unique about what we're doing is you have to be in a unit so that you can actually experience the sensory stimulation, and that means 360. So you can't get that on your phone, you can't get that on your computer. You get that completely with all of the experiences right there when it's all around you.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, but there's obviously a hurdle there in getting some headsets out for users.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go to the chat here, and Michael, you've got a question here.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, you said business customers, how narrowly can you define your initial customer set? What's their phenotype?
Of the ones that we're looking at right now, both because Danielle and I have experience with businesses, we've got a long, our Cardex is quite substantial. So we've actually started reaching out to people over the time that we were actually creating this, getting a lot of buzz from some companies such as ATB, RBC, some of the bigger organizations that are feeling some pain. Along with that, we were also reaching out to, as I mentioned in the presentation, psychologists and therapists. We're looking at people that are in high stress, first responders, people that are going to need this as a tool to help them through what we're going through right now. So we are looking at associations, groups that actually have large groups of people that will benefit from having this in a large format. Our product is sold in a SaaS model format. So although everybody, when you buy a subscription, whether it's just 1 or 100, you get full access to all of the library of material. The price point changes with volume discount.
Okay, great. TJ, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering what you ladies see as like your current biggest existential threat to your brand, and then let's say down the road projecting, once you've got 10,000 customers, what then do you predict would be the biggest existential threat?
Do you want me to take that one, Leanne?
Sure, go for it.
Yeah. I think at this point, our single biggest threat is honestly getting it out to market. We've made enough noise about it that we are now on the radar of various different organizations. And of course, like most other entrepreneurs in the early stages, quite frankly, we need investment. I think a part of what we're doing and what we've experienced is, although there are VR companies emerging in the meditation space, none of them are doing cognitive behavioral therapy. So I think for us, the biggest threat would be we need to get all of our material we need to get the copyrights, we need to get the trademarks, we need to get all of that done, and we need to get out to market first. But from a threat perspective, our competition, I think, is always going, well, for the time being anyway, is going to be those phone apps, the people that are doing forms of cognitive behavioral therapy within a phone app. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
I think
and just I guess to add on that, you said something about trademarks and protectability. Do you mind expanding on that a little bit?
Yeah, so we have actually applied for the trademark for VR Brain. And then our next step is and I see one of the questions is, how many experiences have we completed to date? We've actually got 50 written. Of course, the video technology is a little bit more expensive, so we don't have as many to support the 50. We have a neuroscientist who's going through those. He's part of our team, and he's obviously vetting it to make sure that some of the material that we're covering is, all of the material we're covering is content appropriate if somebody has deeper mental health issues or anything. But I think for us, I've forgotten your question. I'm sorry.
IP.
IP. So basically now is what we need to do is we need to get all of that material copywritten, because the platform itself is not overly complex. It's the content that's in the platform that we need to protect, which is the copyright. So that's something that we're looking at right now. In fact, we're talking to an IP lawyer at the moment. Thanks.
I guess maybe just to follow on from that, you've got these 50 written, I think you said, and so there's all kinds of different afflictions and levels of stress and anxiety for mental health conditions. Do you have any data at this point, or is there any research about how effective some of your different modules are? Is this particularly effective for this kind of an affliction versus that?
Right. Yeah, the data. Do you want to answer that, Leanne?
Oh, I was just going to, sure. And then please join in, Danielle. The data that we've been accumulating has been data that has been part of all the different parts of what VR does, all the data in terms of what cognitive therapy does. What we're doing is so leading that there isn't anybody doing what we're doing yet. So that's why we were fortunate enough to have our psychologist that's part of our team. He's a PhD in neuroscience and motion. And he came to us because he was so excited about what he was hearing about us that he wants to be on our team. So he is. He's going to be vetting our product to a lot of, we want to see these studies being done as we speak. We want them going all the time. We want to see what's happening. As we write everything, it's based on what hundreds and thousands of research articles are telling us what you need to do for each of these stages, how long in each of them, what do you experience in each of them. So we are basing it all on previous literature research, but we are prepared to do our own research when that time comes.
Okay, and then just further to that, I guess then I'd be curious, do you have any customer feedback at this point?
Yes, yes. We've been actually doing for the last about 6 months, we've been sending out our product in what we're calling a demo in a box, which is 5 complete experiences. Our product is divided into 4 different categories. So the menus are divided into managing emotions, cultivating product, developing productivity, developing leadership, and cultivating mindfulness. So there's these 4 categories, and when people go into them, they select which one they are going to see. There's samples, but they're full experiences. Rather than 72, they get 5. When they've gone through them, they are we do a debriefing afterwards, and everybody has given some really amazing suggestions for us. But generally, it's where do we get it? How soon can this be out? I need this. And then they tell us, my son needs this. I got to get this for it's exponential. As soon as one person experiences it, they're thinking for us. They're selling it for us.
Right.
Okay, great. And we do have a couple of other questions, but I'm also being mindful of time here, so I should probably cut it off there, and we'll leave it for that. I should just say thank you again, Danielle and Leanne. That was great, really interesting. And Michael, I'll turn it back over to you at this point, I guess.
Okay, thanks so much for sharing. That was great. Learned a lot and really enjoyed those talks. And thank you, Danielle and Leanne, especially for coming in just a couple weeks ago to join us. That was very polished. That was beautiful. We're going to turn to the next session, and Anna has agreed to chair our 3rd session. So Anna, feel free to introduce our first speaker.
Thanks, Michael. All right, so I think I'm happy to introduce you to Simba Nyazika, the founder for Lenica Research Group. Are you there, Simba? Oh, there you are. Would you mind putting up your presentation?
Absolutely. Give me 1 second.
Excellent. Thank you. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, give me 1. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Michael for setting this up. I'm really excited to be back here presenting what our company has been working on for the past few months. This is not typically our first presentation, but I'm always excited to share some of the progress that we've been making and we've made over the past few months. For those of you that are seeing me for the first time, my name is Simba. I am the founder and CEO of Lenica Research Group. What we are is we're actually a collaborative team of healthcare professionals, researchers, as well as technology experts that are developing what we believe is going to be the future of cognitive health. Now, because one of the things and the feedbacks we've gotten in the past was we have to focus on one market. For today's presentation, I'm going to be just focusing on the stroke market, the healthcare market, but the applications for our platform are very, very broad, and that's something that you'll see as I go through the presentation. So when we look at the problem, it is expected that this year, about 62,000 Canadians are going to be suffering from a stroke. And over 740 of those people that have suffered from a stroke in the past live with those effects. And those effects include things from loss of independence. Stroke is also one of the leading causes of disabilities, loss of jobs, like the impact that it takes for those that also live around a person who has suffered from a stroke. And then a big issue with that as well is that if an individual has suffered a stroke, they are at 10 times more risk of developing dementia, which is also another condition that is becoming pretty significant in today's world. Now, the reason why that is an issue, and we find it as an issue, is that CDC has anticipated that 80% of all stroke cases are preventable. And so what we are really trying to do here is, we know that the medical model that we have right now is great as a prescriptive model, but there isn't a lot of models that are able to really work on preventing the stroke or being able to accurately assess it in a way that's effective and in a way that is accessible and cost maybe not so much money so that everybody will be able to access it. So what we believe is the solution is that we believe that if we're able to create an online platform that anyone can get access to, that is able to measure lifestyle experiences, and this has been made easy with I guess the explosion of a lot of the wearable devices such as Fitbit, Apple Watch, and the like. So we know that we're able to track people's activity levels, their sleep levels, their blood pressure, which is one of those high risk factors for stroke. We know that we're able to track a person's nutrition based on other apps, or maybe they're seeing a dietitian who's able to track all of those different nutrients that they're getting. That platform will also include any psychological evaluations that might be able to detect where that person's mental health is at that point, or some of those risk factors that might be causing that individual to have maybe stress or to be pretty stressed out in the situation. And finally, of course, the medical history, because one of the biggest predictors of stroke, we talked about it being blood pressure. But if a person has had maybe is obese or out of shape, those things will also contribute to them being able to increase their risk to suffering a stroke. So what we have actually created, and today I'm actually going to demo a little bit of our platform, is we have actually created a full integrated platform that allows us to integrate software, hardware, and data from different components all onto a single platform. For the past 3 years, one of the focus that we've been working on has been on virtual reality and augmented reality brain training. So in 2017, we launched one of the first virtual reality mobile apps that used a research paradigm called 3D multiple object tracking, which was created 20 years ago and has been validated as one of the most effective ways to work on improving a person's attention and processing speed. So we were one of the first companies to put that platform as a mobile app, and it's already been used by athletes as one of our target markets. We also ended up creating a prototype of a hand-eye coordination game that aimed at replacing this program called the Dynavision. Now, the Dynavision is just a board with lights. You've probably seen it in sports where a light goes on and then you press it. Basically, we've created a prototype that does that in VR and in AI as well, which we haven't launched yet because we've kind of been slowly working to build this platform so that it's able to do some of the analytics and assessments that we wanted to be able to do. And our most recent VR program was created in collaboration with the Glenrose Hospital. When we went and we presented what we had made, and then they were like, well, the problem that we're trying to solve is that stroke rehabilitation, especially when it comes to cognition, is very limited. When a person suffers from a stroke, usually they're good at doing kind of the speech therapy or the motor components, but cognition is very hidden, therefore very difficult to be able to assess and to be able to help in terms of that progression, especially after that injury. So we've created all those VR apps, but one of the biggest things that has been missing was the platform and the framework to allow us to gather all that data and analyze that data. So that's what we've been focusing on for the last 3 years, but now we've kind of almost introduced, or we're working on introducing this new version that's coming up. Our platform also allows individuals to track their nutrition, and this can be done through uploading or manually inputting some of that information, as well as being able to track the lifestyle data. Now, how we're tracking the lifestyle data at this point is that we've partnered up with a health gauge device, which is another company here in Edmonton that has created this lovely little device here that does all this biometric data, sleep tracking, HRV, and all these lovely important physiological measures. And we've actually integrated the health gauge database into our own database. So it's not just a matter of a person doing the VR training, for example. We're able to do the VR training while measuring their physical health as well. Other elements that are going to be coming up is the ability to input assessments. The reason why this is important is the question is always being asked is, how do you know that the VR programs you have work? How do we know that they're effective? And so, of course, we could do the research, and of course, we've already partnered up with the University of Alberta to assess some of the VR programs that we've done. But we also want to provide our clients, whether they're going to be hospitals or wellness centers, with the ability to do their own assessment and to be able to validate that our platform works without needing us to be there. So our platform actually allows them to upload any assessment that they have. Let's say, for example, for stroke, it might be taking the results from the MOCA and combining it with the biometric data from HealthGauge, as well as the VIA assessment that we have created. And so they're able to take all that information on a single platform and do that analysis on the single platform. And of course, already talked about the medical as well as other measures that might also be important in that individual's health. So these other measures may just be, let's say, part of our primary market is athletes. So for athletes, for example, they might end up looking at how fast a player can skate as an example. So some of these may not apply specifically for stroke prevention, but our platform will have that flexibility to be able to target multiple markets because it's able to gather data from all these different areas. So what I'm quickly going to do is I'm quickly just going to show you, nope, I'm not done Canva. Our front end. So there are two sides with this: an admin dashboard panel, which allows the Glenrose, for example, or like an organization to look at all the user data. But then each user is going to have their own platform as well, or their own dashboard, where they're going to be able to look at their data, analyze it, and see how they are doing as they progress. What is unique about this platform is that the users control their data. So it doesn't matter that you're part of an organization that's already paying for the information. The user has got the right to connect with the organization, to disconnect to the organization, to connect to the biometric devices, to disconnect to the biometric devices. And our database allows them to delete all their data when they do that. So what you're seeing is our alpha version, which we launched in July of last year, and we had like a big media release in the Edmonton Journal, which we're super excited. But this is basically what it entails. And what you're seeing here is one of our mobile app, which is basically people can download the app, use this lovely VIA device right here, do their training, and then all the data goes into a dashboard where they'll be able to look at how they're doing in terms of the average session, the average accuracy, the highest level. But what is super exciting and I would like to show is that this data source is right here, which is something that we just finished creating. And as you can tell here, the user will be able to link to any of the biometric devices or any other software programs that we're going to be partnering up with. So here, of course, I'm already connected to the HealthGauge device with my user code. So basically by connecting it here, I actually sync my phone and all the data onto this single platform. This platform also allows an individual user to be able to connect to a team. And basically a team is the organization that they're part of. So this could be the Glenrose, for example. So maybe I have a therapist at the Glenrose that is going to be helping me with my wellness. So the Glenrose data will end up appearing here. Of course, we are working on the privacy of other patients' data because what data is going to be showing here is very flexible based on the users of each individual organization. So this is just a simple example of what our dashboard looks like right now. We are redoing the whole backend, hence it actually takes a lot quicker. Right now, as you can tell, that part of the Lenica stats team, it actually pulls that data as well in terms of some of the people that have been trying out, testing out the program, who are part of that full organization. So I'll kind of move back here. And so I know a lot of the times, and one of the things that has been recommended is like, okay, when you're talking about the market and the market size, what does that look like? Well, if we're to look at who is at risk of developing a stroke, those are our seniors here in Canada. And we know that since 2010 and probably before that, the senior population has continuously been increasing. Right? Currently, we are sitting at about 6.7 million Canadians that are over the age of 65. And by 2031, that's going to be about 8.7 million. And so if you are thinking about, okay, we've got approximately 62,000 every single year that are going to be suffering from a stroke. If we can prevent 80% of those on an annual basis, the implications of that, not only in terms of their lives or the lives of our parents. I'm also thinking about my parents. I would like to have them all nimble and hyper till they're old, but their life and the quality of life can be preserved as they mature into this older age. And so that's one of the things that we are really, really focusing on doing as we kind of roll out our platform. Now, in terms of a business model, we are pretty happy and excited about the platform that we're having, the flexibility that that is able to provide to our users. However, we are also aware that the platform is just a tool. One of the biggest key features or key value propositions that we offer is the partnerships we have with the different companies, with the different universities, with the different labs. And so I already mentioned that we are already partnered up with HealthGauge, who's been open to helping us like start this biometric integration, but they're also looking at integrating Fitbit and Apple Watch and all these other biometric devices that are out there. We already have a partnership with the University of Alberta. Two of our advisors are profs at the University of Alberta, Dr. Boulanger in the computing science, as well as Dr. Anthony Singhal. And then the University of Massachusetts, I always have a tough time saying it. 2 minutes? Okay, sounds good, thanks. I thought you'd give me a peace sign. I'm like, okay, peace too. It's also found interest in terms of using our platform for research, and the Glenrose as well as sports psychologists across Edmonton who have also been integral in informing the development of our platform. Currently, right now, our product will be offered in 3 tiers. The individual version for individual users who want to be able to get the program, the family version, which is going to be a group of 6 individuals who want to share that platform, and the organization version, which will be going through an organization. We anticipate that 80% of our users are going to be organizations, and we utilize a software hardware as a service model. So because we have tried to have software as a service model, the issues with getting that hardware, especially that VR hardware, into the hands of people is very difficult. So we've decided to bundle everything up and just pay 1 monthly price or 1 yearly price, and then they just get everything together. And some of that might include, again, the headset. Some of them might include the headset and the watch, all of those together. Our initial market is post-performance. It's much easier to get into than the healthcare industry. There's so many barriers within the healthcare industry, but because we have realized that the sports industry and the healthcare industry intersect at the point of recovery following brain injury, we think that the insights that we get from the sports industry will help us inform how we can make our platform better for our seniors as well as for the rehabilitation market. So just to jump really quickly to end, kind of start concluding this, a lot of our competitors right now are other companies that are also in the space. So we've got Riskometer and some of the assessments that are there that are already doing a lot of the stuff with the stroke rehabilitation and that prevention that we are not doing at this point. But I think what makes our platform really unique is that we can integrate even our competitors' platform onto our software, and we are not looking to compete necessarily as to create an ecosystem of different companies that are passionate about mental health, that are looking to change the face of mental health. The other competitors, NeuroTracker and XR Health, both of them also have VR programs similar to the ones that we have, or have used the same research that we have used, but none of them offer biometric integration or the integration of other hardware and software devices, which is also another element that is a key value proposition for our platform. The big thing also is that I believe we've got a super amazing team. I myself, my background is in psychology and neuroscience. We've got Lenica, who's got a master's in neuroscience and they spent the last 7 years doing stroke research at the U of A, who's got his PhD in psychology and does assessments and database management. We also have Ewan, who's also a recent person who's joined our team and is doing his PhD right now in virtual reality and cognition. And our 2 business strategists is Clifford Newfield, who's got over 40 years experience in business development, and then Scott Phillips, who's got a CPA, MBA, and a whole bunch of other letters after his name that I'm not sure I actually know what they mean, but he's very knowledgeable in what he's doing. And then our developers have got Eric Min, who was actually hired to work for Google, but is also passionate about what we're doing, so he's decided to come and join our team, as well as Jasper Ang, who's our front-end developer. At this point, we don't have an ask. I know you're probably like, okay, what are you looking in terms of an ask? And the reason behind that is we were hoping to get our beta version done, but we've had a change in our development team, a good change now that it's done. But we're actually launching our beta version either the end of February or beginning of March. And that beta version is going to allow us, to reintroduce our platform to our clients that we have, and to ensure that we can actually get that solid product market fit, because the beta version is something that will incorporate all these elements that we have, but also will be a point that the clients that we've had will be like, okay, we are willing to pay for it, but we kind of want to get that action. So when I come next time and I talk to you, I'll be like, okay, they are willing to pay and they've paid us this amount. So these are some of my team members. I'd love to take any questions that you might have. Thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot, Simba. This was great. Thanks. Okay, so I think TJ had the first question. Do you want to ask it, TJ?
Sure. Yeah, so you kind of answered there just at the end, Simba, saying that you are pre-revenue, you haven't had any paying customers established. I was kind of wondering what kind of market signals you have for consumer demand.
Yeah, and I can definitely answer that, because our mobile app has had paying customers. And what we did was we had created a mobile app for individual users, only to realize that it was actually being used by organizations.
So you were at a B2C sort of orientation, and now you've kind of switched over to a B2B?
Absolutely, yeah. Because we would have, like, let's say at one point we're like, oh, 50 paying customers, and then we'll kind of do a follow-up on them, and then we realize that their organization using the same app with like 20 athletes.
Right.
So our business model was not working. And so we basically talked to them in terms of asking them what works, what's not working. And then based on that, we've been able to, that's kind of the reason for creating this backend platform with this dashboard and all this data analytics, because they're like, well, I've got 20 athletes using this, but I can't compare their data. Right? I can't put them into one group and another group and compare why, let's say, for example, Michael and TJ is doing better, or like, how can we improve? So you can kind of do all that analysis in the back end with what we have now.
Thanks, Simba.
Perfect, thank you.
I think, Michael, you had another question?
You've made a lot of progress, Simba. Thanks so much. A couple of questions, but anyone else should feel free to also ask. I don't want to dominate. Who makes your VR hardware, and how tied are you to them?
So we are hardware agnostic. So this one is the Google, like it's a Google device. That is just, you can get it for like $20. But we're planning on working with Oculus, but Oculus is kind of sharing the data with Facebook, and some of it's going to be health data, so we can't use them anymore. So we're actually moving to the HTC Focus Plus, which is also a standalone hardware. May not be as good as the Quest 2, but we definitely know in terms of data security, which is a concern for any health data, it will be a lot more secure than sharing with Facebook.
Sure. That's great. I don't know if you've talked to the VR Pathways people that just gave a talk, but it sounds like there might be some conversations you could have about hardware and software compatibility. And have you met them before?
No, I was actually super excited, because when they started talking about CBT, I'm like, oh, do they want to measure biometric data while they're doing that as well? So I was like, there's so many areas that we can kind of work together.
Well, it's great to have you guys talk at the same time, more or less. So let me know if you want an introduction. Just wondering also about anything concrete that you'd like from the advisors, both here in the room and also on the panel, in terms of either the beta testing or beyond. What is it that you need? Is it the marketing? Is it the partnership? It sounds like the relationship with HealthGauge is good, and that's great. Maybe you've met them here as well. Are there any other partners you're looking for?
Yeah, we are always seeking either like clinical partners or research partners to join and kind of help us contribute in terms of like what we're developing, but then also in terms of like business partnerships. Because I think in terms of the internal team, like we do have some core expertise, but we also realize that we've got our own blind spots too, right? Because cognitive and mental health is such a big field, and the way we can approach it is so diverse that we're always seeking other partners to be able to be part of it, whether it's part of the internal team or it's through a collaboration between two companies. So anyone who's like in the space, like you had mentioned that the previous individuals that were presenting before, I'm like, okay, I can partner up, because we're always seeking more partnerships in terms of being able to create this to be able to provide the most impact that we can to Canadians and of course everyone else in the world.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks, Simba. Before we move on, just a quick question. I'm a bit curious. what are your thoughts around Health Canada approval? If you're proposing this has a health outcome, a measurable health outcome in the prevention of stroke, do you think this might be considered a medical device and therefore require Health Canada approval?
We have considered it, and we are continuing to consider it, that it might require Health Canada approval. But one of the things that Cliff always says is that, okay, whenever there's a barrier, or like if it ends up becoming expensive to do, we have to think of ways to work around, sounds bad, but a way to kind of, that barrier is like almost framing the direction that we can take. And so one of the things that we have already realized is that the healthcare industry can be very difficult to get into, but we know that if we can show the effectiveness in the sports industry with the sports psychologists and show that data that, hey, we are able to prevent player injury because they're using our program, or we're able to help players who have suffered a concussion recover much quicker, then that will be much easier for us to go and present it to Health Canada, because now we've got the data, it's coming from our platform. And of course, if they're like, okay, want to do their own assessment, because it's also a research tool, that's a whole other thing that we're trying to like innovate. It's also a research tool. They will be able to do their own analysis on that platform, and it won't take as many or as much financial resources as maybe a full-blown study will take.
Great, thanks a lot, Simba. All right, so I think we're ready to move on to our next presenters. We have Brian Bell and Sydney Hampshire from Click&Push Accessibility.
Sorry, just getting it pulled up here. Thanks for being patient.
Yep, no worries.
Just let me know when you guys are able to see the screen.
We see it perfectly.
Okay, it's not showing what I'm looking for. Hold on one second here. Okay. Okay, so welcome. Thank you all for having us today. My name is Brian Bell. I'm with Click&Push, and I'm here with our Chief Operating Officer, Sydney. And I'm going to be walking you through just our pitch deck today. And Sydney's here to support and answer any questions that anyone has at the end. So Click&Push was an organization started in 2017. And really it was started by our three founders. And the three founders that we have are Martin Ferguson Pell, the CEO with a PhD in biomedical engineering. Sydney, who's acting as our COO at this time, and she's our background in rehabilitation science. And then we also have Nathan, who's our CTO and has a PhD in mechanical engineering. My name is Brian Bell. I'm the director of sales and marketing for Click&Push, and really here to help you guys, or help the team progress and get to the point where we're able to commercialize the technology, which is often the biggest challenge that we have. And with a decade of experience that our team has in not only wheelchair biomechanics, but engineering, software design, clinical science, and most importantly, the accessibility device and application development. So the problem that we see right now, and I'm going to tell a story here for you all. There's a real absence of dedicated map and activity wheel monitors for wheelchair users, and that's led to a lot of different things, such as the fear of unknown paths, or an overexertion, especially for individuals who are new manual wheelchair users. And the story that we like to tell is about one of our participants, Morgan, who's a manual wheelchair user. And one day, she was coming to the university to come to class, and she hopped on the LRT, got to the university, and the elevator's out. And as a wheelchair user, she has no way to get up from the LRT level to the ground level without that elevator working. There's no other option for her. So what she had to do that day is she had to go downtown, and then she had to call a DATS bus to get her. And that DATS bus would bring her to the university. And that window that exists for DATS users is a 2-hour window. So you'll set up a ride, and they'll give you 2 hours that they'll be there. So it could be between 10 and 2. It's like a cable delivery or the cable installation service where they give you a morning or afternoon. And that can cause a lot of challenges. Now if Morgan was aware of that outage, of that accessibility feature at the LRT station at the university, she could have made alternate plans. And so we see this as an opportunity to really help the manual wheelchair users throughout their day with their barrier mapping and activity reporting. So our solution focuses on three main things, but solves a lot of other problems as well. I talked briefly about the barrier reporting and activity monitoring. Now, barrier reporting could be for a variety of different things, such as sidewalk cuts or crosswalks, but it can also be for features such as ramps and elevators, as I said. And activity monitoring is really that tracking of the routes that wheelchair users are currently taking and utilizing in order to get to where they're going. And along with the activity monitoring itself, we want to integrate that exertion mapping. And the exertion mapping is done for a variety of different reasons. One is to reduce the number of shoulder injuries for new wheelchair users, but also to give those users an idea of how much effort a particular route would be, because different routes are going to be harder or easier depending on what features they have. So in order to implement our solution, we've developed two products. One of them is the Atlas, which is our mobile web application. And this pairs with our device, which is called the Sagita. As you can see, we have the rendering of the actual app on the top there, and then below is the actual device. And that device just clicks nicely into a manual wheelchair user's spokes. And it pairs up through Bluetooth to a user's phone and feeds data about the actual ride for that particular individual. So it's really simple. You strap it on, you switch on your device, and you're able to start conquering activities and then avoid the barriers that exist out there. Now, in 2018, we established the enterprise, and then in 2019, there was the mapping of the U of A campuses and the neighboring areas. So around the Edmonton, Old Strathcona area, there was some mapping that was done. We've been working on prototyping app development and also done focus group trials throughout 2020. And I've made some really good progress and heard some really good feedback from a variety of different groups on the device. And now we're looking to get to that fundraising and the commercialization. And so we really want to start building out that mobile app as opposed to a mobile web app for the different app stores that exist out there, but also start to define that full scale manufacturing process so that we can start putting this into the hands of the people to really get the benefit that they need. So when it comes to product development, right now we have our alpha app that I said earlier is a mobile app that we currently have. We've actually been doing some product trials. So there's been different groups and different individuals, both in the wheelchair and the biking community. We have used it with some cyclists as well, just to ensure that the device is working correctly. So we've had people testing it. And we've had some focus groups and have done some mapping as well. So we've gotten to a place now where we're ready to start moving to that next step. And this is where the help of potential investors is going to be crucial for us to be successful. When we look at the target market size across the world, there's approximately 20,000 wheelchair users at this time. In Canada alone, there's almost 300,000, and Alberta has approximately 35,000 at this time. And if we look at just an initial target market, if we were to convert 10% of wheelchair users in Alberta, there'd be that opportunity for 3,500 subscriptions or devices that we could provide just in Alberta alone. But there's also some opportunity in some of the higher potential urban areas that we have as well. So when we think of really accessible cities where there's a ton of support, not only from the business communities, but from the community at large for accessibilities, the top three that really come to mind that have a lot of support, including from their municipality and governments, is Montreal and then Victoria and Vancouver. But we also want to focus on some of those areas that have have high impact winter cities. So one of the challenges that manual wheelchair users have in Edmonton is if it snows or if the weather's bad, the likelihood of them getting outside decreases significantly, especially with more unknowns out there. And so for cities such as Edmonton, where we do have colder weather and we do have, more snow than places in the south, giving people the information they need to be able to make an informed decision about how to get somewhere is going to be of a huge benefit, not only for themselves, but for their friends, their families, and their employers. Now, from a competitive analysis, we looked at a few different competitors that exist out there. So the 3 that I have listed here on screen, I have iAccess Life, which is an American company, and it lets users do a variety of different things. But the main things that it allows you to do is to rate, review, and research places based upon accessibility. Now, Access Now is a Canadian mobile app, and it's also very similar to iAccess Life, and it shares accessibility statuses of businesses and institutions. And then SmartWheel is a manufacturer who builds wheels for manual wheelchair users, and these wheels have devices in them, and their devices essentially take up the whole hub in the wheel, and they provide some of the features that the device, the Sagita that we've created, provides very similar data to it. But the cost of those wheelchair wheels is approximately $20,000, and it's very prohibitive for most people to be able to utilize that information and benefit from that product. And so we saw an opportunity that existed where we could create something that's smaller, more efficient, more cost effective, and can provide all of those benefits that the SmartWheel does and more to manual wheelchair users. And when we look at what makes our product unique or products unique, or what's our real value prop, the devices are calibrated, so they're validated against industry gold standard benchmarks. When we look at the price point, it's very affordable and reasonably priced against, or will be reasonably priced compared to competition such as SmartWheels. The accessibility, the user interface is so simple. It's so easy to understand. It's so easy to use, and it's super portable. The device that we showed the rendering of previously is less than 6 inches in length. It's really small, really simple, really easy to strap on, and we've had positive feedback from different focus groups on it. So as a social enterprise, there's some real big impacts that we as an organization strive to achieve. Number one being is the improved accessibility. So we really want to provide activity statistics and progress updates to those wheelchair users. And it's not only for them to be able to get around easier, but also to see their progress that they're making, to be able to plan exercise accordingly. And also we'll get into exertion mapping. So when you know what barriers are in place, you're able to make those decisions on how much effort you want to put in due to those tougher terrain and barriers that exist out there. So having that ability to see and take that information in allows them to make educated decisions that allow them to progress better. And then as an advocate for improving accessibility, the information that we have it will be available to share with cities to provide them that information for opportunities for improvement in their accessibility. And I know Edmonton, for example, right now already partners with Strava and uses that data to see how much any of their individual trails throughout the city are being used. And this could be another opportunity for a partnership with different governments and businesses to understand where those opportunities exist for them to improve that accessibility for their city. And last but not least, I know we're getting close to time here for this. We're going to look at creating a revenue model. That's the freemium model, basically where you have the free model. So you have your basic features, you have access to the application only. You won't have all the features available to you, such as that exertion mapping when you're actually using the device. Without the device. So that's the free model. And then we'd have a premium level, which would be the middle level, and that's going to have all the features available within the app itself. And then the platinum level, which will have all the features and also provide the hardware to the client themselves. So that was all that we had for today. We're really in need of partnerships and investments to get this project through to the next step. And we'll, with your support, we'll be able to continue to make spaces accessible for all. So I'd like to say thank you and just open it up to questions.
Thank you very much, Brian. That was a great presentation. I think Greg has a question. Do you want to ask it, Greg?
Sure. Yeah, I was just wondering. Great presentation. Thanks, Brian. I know our organization is partnered with CNIB, which we're very proud of, and I think it looks, long overdue and fantastic. Just wanted, you noted that there's going to be pricing for premium and platinum. Have you gauged what the market will bear and what that might look like?
Sid, do you want to talk on that one for a minute there?
Yeah, I can. Thank you. I would say that as of now, we don't have an exact price range, unfortunately. And actually at the strategic planning meeting that we have next week, Monday, I'm hoping that we can touch some more on that and really get down to the exact number, because we've been throwing around ballpark numbers for such a long time based on what we've heard from wheelchair users and bike users. And so I wouldn't want to throw something around that's inaccurate until just after next week, if that's all right.
Yep. No, just trying to get a sense. Thanks very much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. And then we'll get that information, Greg, for you in the future.
All right, DJ, I think you had the next question.
You know what? I've talked so much at each one. I'll let someone else go first, and then if there's time for me, I'll happily ask a question.
Michael, then it's your question next.
Yeah, sure. So you're talking both the bicycle and the wheelchair markets. I'm just wondering which one's easier to get into and how much is regulation or insurance a factor in your growth plans?
Did you want to take that one or you want me to go?
I think you should, because you've done more of this for sure.
Yeah. So I think like both markets, the bicycle market or the cyclist market is obviously much larger than the wheelchair market at this time. And we did quite a bit of an analysis into the cycling market, the competition that exists in there. And in that work or that marketplace right now, there's a ton of competition. And a lot of times there's not as much focus on that wheelchair, and we found the wheelchair market to just be a little bit more attractive. And starting in Canada was the goal to get it out, and then the opportunity to grow worldwide is there. And we've already started working with a company called Permobile, and Permobile is a wheelchair manufacturer. And they're actually interested in doing some trials and studies with us on the product, which is a very positive sign for us as a business. And we have a large manufacturer interested in partnering and trying this out to see if it's going to meet their needs as an organization. And that would be an ideal partnership on top of potentially having the app and device available. When it comes to healthcare regulations, because we're not using this technically for any healthcare related outcomes, it's to provide that exertion mapping and route planning. I don't see it being prohibitive for us at this time, Michael. Does that answer your question?
Sure, yeah. And I guess insurance liability also, you can limit that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And in terms of the market, then I think that's great. The wheelchair company, are they planning on bundling your hardware and software with their product to really be the consumer-facing part of the puzzle?
Yeah, it's very, very early in those conversations, Michael. So we haven't really determined what we're going to do. We're working on beginning that study. We were hoping to start the study. It was a partnership between Permobile, the university, and Click&Push this winter. But due to the restrictions for COVID on everything that's challenging us right now, that's going to be pushed out. It was going to be a winter, summer, and now it's going to be a summer, winter study. So we'll have a lot more information probably midway through this year.
Great. Well, thanks. That's really exciting.
Yeah, it's very good. TJ, did you want to ask your question now, or sorry, was there anyone else?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I'm just kind of wondering about my concern for you guys is the splitting of your focus between this hardware solution and even the software stuff. It sounds like you have several different features in mind, and I'm concerned about the potential of feature bloat. And I'm wondering, have you considered really just putting the onus or the responsibility onto third parties like elevator installation mechanics or stuff like that, where they might be able to implement some type of simple or elegant solution that focuses on the answer to your one problem or your primary problem, which you explained in their story as being, I don't know if the elevator or the whatever accessibility feature is functional.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering about that, if you could just maybe speak to that, or if that's something you guys have thought about, maybe just paring down and focusing on like one thing versus kind of this idea of like being, a Swiss Army knife.
So you're referring to having both the app and the hardware, correct?
I'm afraid that by splitting your focus and especially pursuing a hardware solution, I know from everything I've learned about hardware, it's really tough and it's really long, arduous, prototyping cycles and getting stuff to manufacture and then going through manufacturing headaches. So I'm just kind of wanting to help steer you guys if at all possible.
Yeah, we've definitely had some conversations about whether we wanted to just go purely app or purely hardware, and what, or if we want to do both and what makes the most sense. Now, the information that can be provided by the actual hardware currently can't be provided by anyone other than SmartWheel, which is that $20,000 whole hub device. And the intent, the original intent, as we talked about with this program or with this project and organization, was to help people, number one, who are transitioning from regular life to manual wheelchair life. Because one of the things that happens most often is they blow out shoulders from overexertion when they're wheeling. There's not another device that exists out there right now other than the SmartWheel that we know of to manage that. And so it's definitely something that, we struggle with. Like, can we just create an app? There's a lot of other apps that exist out there. How are we going to differentiate ourselves as an app if we don't have these features and data that's coming in? And so we have a strategy session scheduled on Monday to talk about this in a little bit more extensive discussion, TJ.
Sure. Yeah, it just sounds to me like you've got two different problems that you're looking to solve. One is that device, is my route going to be a smooth, easy route for me from point A to point B? And then the second one being, how can I manage overexertion issues? And those seem like two very different problems that you're focusing on. And so I would just advise that you pick one of those and focus on one.
Pick one. Okay, that's great advice. No, I appreciate that, TJ. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And do the one that doesn't involve hardware.
Okay, great. We will take that to heart. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Do we have any more time, Anna, or are we all out?
We're all out, but I think Michael has a final.
Sure. And Remant, sorry about asking another question, but I'm just wondering about the pain of your customer. Like the wheelchair client is obviously experiencing discomfort and pain, but so is the city if they have liability around not having an operational elevator and that person, there's a robbery or whatever. So the city also, and maybe other organizations also feel pain. How can you solve their problem directly? Because they're bigger clients and will pay more money and be simpler to engage possibly once they realize you'll solve their problem.
Yeah, that's a great point, Michael. And I think that we've started to explore how we can monetize that information to businesses such as the city or different real estate development companies who manage various properties and have issues with accessibility. So how can we line our pockets with their money and provide them with information that they need that's going to also support our cause. So that's a great question. I don't know if we have the answer on how we can do that yet, but I think that's something that we should be exploring more and more in depth now.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you very much, guys. That was a really
okay. Thanks.
Project. Thanks, Sydney. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate you making time for us and having us here today.
Alrighty, so I think we're ready to move on to what I think is our last presentation for the day. So that is going to be Remant KC, the co-founder of RJH Biosciences. Are you ready?
Yes.
Alrighty, floors are yours.
Okay, let me share this one first. Okay.
There's a bit of background noise. Okay, we're okay. Actually, it's coming back.
Okay,
Maybe your mic.
Yeah, it's from my mic, or I don't know. I don't know what's it.
Yeah, your mic is giving a bit of, it sounds like my head's underwater.
I don't know how I can solve. I can track that one. Let me.
Do you have a different mic that you can use for inputting?
No, my mic is on the webcam, so
okay.
Don't know.
Well, we can hear you, but just make sure you speak up and close to your mic then.
Okay, I'll try that one. Okay, so you can hear me nicely now. Okay, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Anne and Michael, for providing this opportunity to me, to us for the presentation. I'm Remant KC, co-founder of RJH Biosciences. The story of RJH Biosciences began with the incredible potential of nucleic acid for clinical development. Nucleic acid are central regulatory units of the body. That's why from last few decades, lots of things have been done in this regard. I'll give you the last example of nucleic acid for therapeutic development, like mRNA vaccine, which is in market for COVID-19. That is the last example I can see it. So, however, in this approach, there are few issues which we have to solve. The first problem is nucleic acid cannot go into the cell on their own. They need some delivery vehicle, especially when we are dealing with blood-borne cells, floating cells. It's very hard. The next one is clinical translation of this technology is challenging. To tackle these issues, RJH Biosciences has proposed a solution to engineer polymeric materials that can be used as transfixer agent. We take the basic polymer and we modify them in different composition, architecture, size, and chemical stability. And in-house, we have lots of multiple libraries of these polymers. These polymers, what do they do? When these polymers mix with the nucleic acid, they form nanoparticles. And these nanoparticles can protect nucleic acid from physiological digestion. And these particles can deliver nucleic acid to the site of actions. Over the 15 years, we have been testing these materials in different scientific studies. In terms of delivery and gene expression, biomarker discovery, and efficacy evaluation. Efficacy evaluation in different cancer models like blood cancer, breast cancer, and stem cell modification, and those aspects is for cell therapy studies. And we have been using this material for multiple siRNA nucleic acid delivery, protein synthesis, biomarker discovery, bone repair, implant. These are the wide range of studies which we have been already used, and we have already applied 2 patents. Those are in process, and 1 patent is in preparation. To capitalize these expertise, we established RJH Biosciences as a biotech company to produce polymeric materials that can be used as a transcription reagent and delivery vehicle for nucleic acid. And these materials can be attractive units for gene therapy industry. The gene therapy industry is a multi-billions company industries. It is expected to reach around 35 billion by 2027. On the other hand, transfection reagent, which is our current focus, is expected to reach to 1.5 billion in 2027. The potential customers in this market segment are academic and research institutes and pharmaceutical and biotech companies. In both these institutes do the common things what we are doing right now, like the protein expression, transcription, gene therapy, cancer therapy, biomedical application. That's why we have a competency that when our material goes into these images, they can get right results and right amount. So there is of course there is competition. These are the list of leading players in the world, and most of them are using peptide, polymer, lipid, or the mixture of polymer and lipids, but they are also using the organic solvent. Whereas RJH Biosciences use chemically synthesized lipopolymers, and the composition of this polymer is beneficial to enhance transcription efficiency in both in vitro and in vivo models. And this material can deliver nucleic acid, RNA, and protein in single or dual composition. And these characteristics are sufficient enough to differentiate RJ's product from the crowd in terms of uniqueness, performance, and characteristics. In uniqueness, our product is chemically synthesized lipopolymers. In performance-wise, we have our strength is transfection of suspension growing cells. Those are blood cells and immune cells. And the efficacy we have done in both in vitro and in vivo models. And this is quite challenging using the commercially available materials. And in characteristic-wise, our material has multivalent interaction with the nucleic acid so that they can form very nice complex. And these materials have wide range of buffering capacity, lipid systems, synergistic effect, aqueous system, which are quite compatible while using in animal model and in clinical applications. So in business strategy, we have already launched few products in the market. We have been selling our product through our website and relationship-based sales and through the distributors. We have already defined few distributors to sell our product. And in future, add-on service we will put in our company so that we can develop, expand the business out of our company. And the add-on services will be transcription of gene and protein expression, screening, and biomarker discovery. When we get these service active, we would like to close our direct sales strategy, and all of our sales will go through the distributors. In add-on service, it will be through the B2 business to business strategy models. And so in the development, we have already launched our product in the market. In the last few years, we secured funding from different agencies like Bill Gates in Canada, national and federal and provincial funding agencies. We have been closely selected with some incubator programs. Berkeley Skydeck we are working with right now, and also we are with University of Alberta Health Accelerator program. And we already have distributors in Asian and European markets. and we are looking for North American market that will find in near future. And down the road for 3 years, we are looking for a sustainable revenue that will come from sales and services. And we would like to establish a worldwide distributor channel, network channel. And next one, we are looking for strategic partners. Currently, we are working at different companies like Aries Bio and Casdan and Genescript and Cornell Bio from Boston area. These companies are working with RNA technologies and CRISPR technologies. We are closely working with these companies, and we are exchanging our materials with them. Hopefully, in future, we will have some contract with these companies. To achieve this goal, we are looking some expert, especially business development associate and sales or marketing associate. Business development associate will work in business to business contract and partnership development. And next one, sales and marketing associate will work on business to customer strategy that will help us to generate some revenues. And next one, we are looking from seed funding around 500K, and that will help us to grow the sales team and scale operation and IP work. And yeah, finally, this is our team. Our team is led by Hassan Ulode, and he is the president of the company and co-founder also, and he's professor at the University of Alberta. He has 30-year experience working at the interface of science, interface of molecular biology, pharmaceutical science, and engineering. I also have the same kind of expertise around 15 years, and I'm also a co-founder. And these are some our team. These are scientists and analysts. And we have partners. They are working in our website and IP consultants and corporate consultants. Yeah, that's all for my presentation. And if you have any questions, any suggestions, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you very much, Remant. Do we have any questions here? I think Elliot had the first question.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the presentation. I was just going back to one of your earlier slides on the chart that kind of compares you to other people playing in the same space with you. Just noting that Thermo Fisher Scientific look to be quite similar, with the exception of just the method of delivery being the composition of the lipopolymer versus just lipid. Just wanted to see if you could expand a little bit more about how RJH is positioning themselves to basically have an advantage against Thermo Fisher.
Yeah, that's a great question. This is critical questions we ask by ourselves also. Okay, if I go here, yeah, our main strength is our focus is also in blood cells, immune cells, suspension growing cells, and in these cells, I have been working using these materials from what you mentioned, from Fisher or Myers, those materials. They use only the lipidic systems, and they are not that convincing to me. That's why our material, which is the mix, which is the composition of polymer and lipids. That's why these two components help synergistically to modify these suspension growing cells. That's our strength.
And to follow up with that, if you don't mind, how does it compare price-wise?
Yeah, price-wise, currently our price is I didn't have here. It's cheaper than the other companies. Yeah, of course, price things change down the road. That's why I didn't mention there. Yeah, currently our price is cheaper than the other one.
I see, and I think that might go to Michael's question. Do you want to ask it, Michael?
Sure. Thanks for your talk. I loved it, including the animation at the beginning. And thanks very much for agreeing to talk last. It's always difficult, but I found it very interesting. It's close to my heart. I also work on polymers. So I wanted to ask you about scaling the production. Often these polymers, if you make them in small quantities, they're expensive, but once you scale, they're more affordable. And for in vivo use, you're going to need lots of polymer. So what are your plans? You can't really do that on campus, right? You've got to find a polymer production partner.
Yeah, no, polymer production, we will do that by ourselves down the road. Right now, scale up, I'm developing polymer around gram labels. Yeah, later on, yeah, I don't know. Later on, we still be in the university, or it will find some other place in the city. Yeah, there is one lab we are working with. Probably, if we are not allowed to work in the university, maybe we'll go there.
Okay, but can you produce kilograms?
Kilogram, I cannot tell you right now, but in the gram labels, we are comfortable.
Okay, and do you have clinical data, especially on blood or immune cells?
Yeah, we have those data. That is different segment. That's why I don't have here.
Okay, all right, but that might be critical for getting into market if you're going in vivo.
Yeah, we have in vivo data. We have immune cell modification data. That is different segment of the company. That's why.
Oh, okay, but it's published or it's completed?
No, this is not published.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, thank you. That was great. Very interesting, and happy to chat some more whenever you wish.
Okay, thank you.
That was great. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Alrighty, so I think that concludes today's presentations. Michael, I'll give it over to you.
Okay, Anna, thanks so much, and also Elliot and everybody for joining in with questions. TJ, you've had a lot of great comments as well. It's been great to have your input. Usually at the end, we just have an open kind of floor. I'd love to get feedback from anybody on what we could do better, or if there's any other feedback that you want to give the teams. It's Remant who's the remaining presenter, but you can also just put in comments on the feedback forms or in the chat space, and I'll make sure that gets to the people. Or if you want an introduction, just let me know. But especially for the new people, like Greg, for example, or TJ. TJ's been here before, but Greg, I think it's your first time, and Val, I think as well. Just let us know if there's anything we can do better, what you enjoyed today, and any advice for Remant or anyone else that you want to share.
Yeah, personally, Michael, I mean, I was impressed. I mean, I think some great technology, some great ideas, and some great pitches. So, and I think, you know, a good length of time allotted for each. So I think you got enough detail, but didn't go too long, and some good questions in the right amount of time. So I'll give it some thought, but I was impressed. I think it was a great session.
Well, thanks for coming in from Toronto. It was my hometown for a while, and we do things a bit different in Alberta, but we can always learn from Ontarians.
I always clarify, Michael, I'm from Muskoka, not Toronto. So
okay. Sorry. That's all right. And Val,
I would just jump in and say
I'm from Sarnia, so I get it. I get it completely. Yeah. Like Sarnia's 3 hours away from Toronto, and I'm from Sarnia, not Toronto. I get it. Yeah.
Great to have you back. Anything we could have done differently or that you particularly enjoyed today?
Some of the presentations were definitely polished and presented extremely well. They had a lot of thought put into it. There were a couple of them that were a little late coming in on deck. And I think, oh, gee, you know, could you just, you know, be aware of who's presenting in front of you and just be there on deck, ready to just push that button and go. But other than that, we really stayed on time. Considering how many presentations that we had, I think we did pretty good on staying on time.
Well, thanks to our chairs. You guys have been great. I just get to sit back and enjoy the show. So, and thank you for that. Yeah, I think the teams, we don't give them pitching advice. Like, I think you're seeing raw talent here. We could do more polishing with them, but we're just trying to really let you see the real talent as it emerges. And then people like Sandra and others are there to help. She's done pitch training, actually. So Sandra can probably offer her suggestions on what we could do in that space as well. And Sandra, thanks for joining us. I know you've had a busy day, and I know a lot of you have been here for, well, three and a half hours. So thanks for your time today. But Sandra, any thoughts on what we could do better or what worked for you today?
mean, I think it's a pretty good setup. I would say you're very generous on time. You know, like with the work we do at Valhalla, we do 10-minute pitches, but I think, you know, again, if you're looking for feedback, it's good to get into the details. I don't know that it's a bad thing to have the 15 minutes because you get it, you can dig into it. Because I find that is the problem when you are doing feedback is you need to hear the story, you need to hear the pieces so you can dig in a little bit and ask the question. So I you know, I think the 15-minute format is good for that sake of really digging in on the feedback. I mean, certainly so, and I can speak a little bit to the last two, because obviously I work with Remant and I think this might be the first time he's actually pitched this. Hassan does a lot of the pitching. So Remant has, I can say, because I've seen it, that he's put a lot of work into it. And there's a lot more business in it and, you know, not all science. So, you know, I was happy to see that. And similar with Click&Push, that was the first time Brian had pitched Click&Push. He just joined the team right before Christmas. So, you know, I get to see some of that context. So it's great for me. And we don't always have the capacity to go through all the pitches. So, I mean, I think it's really well done. Again, you know, we're trying to open up our support as well. So, you know, anybody coming with affiliation with the University of Alberta, like they're welcome to come spend some time with us. And, you know, again, because I love the pitch world and the work I do at Valhalla, I can certainly help on pitching with especially any of the companies associated with the University of Alberta. So I can definitely put that out there for you, Michael, any of the companies coming through that might want some help. We've opened up our community to have a community. So we have our health hub, which is more hands-off, but it's on-demand coaching. So if anybody's like, hey, can I go through your deck with you? They can use me, or we actually also have 2 MBA interns. And so I can say actually Nikhil on our team has worked quite a bit with Remant on his deck and helped him with some of the market research stuff. So, you know, we're trying to have interns available as well to support the companies, especially the deeper tech ones.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sandra. And you do a lot of work with these teams. I really appreciate that. And I love the way the community is coming together and we're all chipping in to help these entrepreneurs, these teams get over the next hurdle. And hopefully that really turns into some success stories. We've already had a lot of successes actually, but we want to continue that growth. And if the world's changing quickly, so we want to adapt with it. If there's anything that you think we should be focused on next time around, let us know. Otherwise, we'll just keep the door wide open to teams across the spectrum. And
yeah, we continue to promote your sessions and, you know, let our companies know that opportunity is there and it's a good place to practice, good place to network and get feedback, especially in this environment, that networking piece, I think, you know, and of course, it's different every time at an event because depending on which of your advisors are available, but I think, you know, it offers a lot of complementary opportunities that because like I said, we're not building that advisory group because it's at Discovery Labs, there's mentors at VMS. So we're just here to help work one-on-one with the companies and direct it out. So yeah, it works well.
Yeah, we all do what we love and it all kind of works together right now, which is
exactly
great. And Elliot, you also provide a great service. Do you want to just say a couple things about what you liked or thought we could have worked on today?
Yeah, no, I echo the comments you made so far. I think that some of the presentations, as with anything, some of them were more polished than others, but there was overall some really great content and it's remarkable to me that there are so many companies in our backyard that are doing, you know, world cutting edge innovation, and it's really great to see. And I just appreciate the network of people here that are all interested in kind of helping move that forward by offering, you know, feedback and input and everything. So it's great. So yeah, no direct no constructive feedback today. Just I'm glad to be part of it, and thanks, Michael, for all your efforts here.
Well, thanks all of you so much. It's been great fun. I always enjoy this. I always feel enthused, and I have my own aspirations to build the odd company, so it keeps me motivated. So thanks. I hope we give each other encouragement and moral support and practical advice, and just continue doing what you're doing. Let us know how we can help you, and yeah, I hope to see you next time around. Our next one is on, I think, April the 22nd, and so I'll send the invites out. People can pitch again. We've had a couple repeat pitches, and I think they come back stronger every time. So your teams are also welcome to come back if they have new progress they want to talk about. They're more than welcome to come back. So anyway, thanks so much.
Can I ask a quick question? I guess I'm just wondering about the back end because I mean I know you've built like a really significant group of advisors and people from the ecosystem. Of course, not everybody can come in and participate every event or for the full 4 hours, but you do find, because I know you're recording these, like, are some of the advisors going back and still providing some feedback, or has there been thought of even like a private YouTube channel for some of the companies that, depending on what kinds of companies everyone's looking for? Because I think that's part of it, right? Like, people are looking maybe for the companies they're of interest in certain sectors, but that they can almost like catalog or go back to see, like, okay, hey, this is a seed stage biotech company looking for capital or not looking for capital, that just to maybe engage. And I don't know like how much the advisors are getting engaged outside. I mean, I kind of take for granted that we're connected from the university perspective, but outside of that, just as a thought.
Yeah, it's a great point. And basically, we want to get that funded. We don't have that dashboard, so we're making use of Eventbrite and YouTube and Google Forms and MailChimp and everything else, but we haven't integrated it into one platform. We're winging it. And you can do that for a couple hundred people, but pretty soon it becomes unmanageable. And so really the goal this year, over the past year, we said, let's just keep the ship upright during COVID and run one event per quarter. But we definitely want to grow. We've had great demand. There's great teams out there, great advisors. We have over 150 advisors, 150 teams have pitched in the past 4 years. So and I think we've just continued to improve what we do. But in the end, to scale, we have that same issue that we need to automate. We need to get everything into one cohesive package. And that takes money. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a guy in my office writing grants and papers like everybody else. And I do this, a couple days every quarter because I care. And if I had $100,000, I'd solve that problem. But I don't have $100,000. But that's one of the things I'd like to do is get that digital front end, the back office running, because right now it's me and my keyboard, and I can only do so much. So any ideas, and anyone who wants to join that team, because I do need an operational team. And I think, Sandra, what you've done is fantastic, and you've seen a lot of these things fly successfully, and you know what makes or breaks these networks. And so your advice would be really, really fantastic. And also Elliot and his team. And there's motivated people out there who want to help. I think we're just limited by basically the amount of time that I have and Cameron has and the time that the advisors have. I want to make this work like a very streamlined machine so that you have a dashboard. You can see everything you want at the push of a button about any team. So we will get there. I think for now, we've just said, let's focus on the quality of what we provide in terms of the experience. And today, I've had a lot of fun. I get to meet all you great people, hear some great stories, people who are dedicating their lives to great technologies because they want to make a difference. So we want to focus on that piece first. I think we've done some pivoting into the online space. We used to do physical meetings. That's worked well. I can do this basically in my part-time on the occasional weekday, but I need your advice, and if anyone else wants to join, I'd love to get that rolling in the next half year. And now that the IM YEG project got funded, I think we have the capacity this year to really go the distance on getting this streamlined so we can scale. We can do 10 times as many events if we get this all together. But it's going to be a partnership approach, and I love your input on that. Deborah James and the other members of the team there have been critical, and so I think the university will benefit. There is this initial thing about I want to control it, but networks are best when they can breathe, and this one I think is good for being very open innovation driven. And so trying to find the right structure and way to do that, I think, is the next step. So I want to have that meeting with the advisors, and we have about a dozen people who want to join our board of advisors to guide us over that transition. And so I think in the next half year, we'll start to address that more specifically, Sandra. And I thank you for your encouragement.
Yeah, and worth probably another chat for you and I, and you know how some of these, because I'm in the same boat. I'm still a one-person show too, so.
Yeah, lots of great individuals. That's what makes it work. So thank you all for being great individuals, and let's keep in touch.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, guys. Take care.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Cheers all.
Okay, thanks.